Chapter 3987. Fellow Taoist, please take control of the flying boat. At the side, Xiao Huarang said with a smile, taking advantage of this period of time. Fellow Taoist, can you tell me the specifics of your experience on Dragon Island? Sure. Ao Zhantian took over the flying boat and explained, after passing the selection you'll be qualified to enter Dragon Island. However, there are many training grounds on Dragon Island, and the dangers are all different. Therefore there's a test before entering Dragon Island. This test is very simple. It's to see how strong the descendants of the dragon bloodline are and how pure their bloodline is. According to the results of the test, they'll be assigned to different training grounds. Of course, the more dangerous the training grounds are, the more benefits you'll get. However, I don't have any special plans. As long as I can enter Dragon Island, I'll get whatever benefits I want. As long as I leave Dragon Island, the Immortal Palace will be wary of Dragon Island's influence and won't force me too much. Since Taoist priest also left Dragon Island with me, the Immortal Palace will also consider this relationship. At this point Ao Zhantian was suddenly shocked. He looked at Xiao Hua and smiled bitterly. Actually, Taoist priest's current strength has already exceeded the limits of the Immortal Palace's tolerance. Furthermore, Taoist priest defeated perfected cultivator Qingyuan earlier. I'm afraid that in the future, even Dragon Island can't go against the Immortal Palace. Unless Taoist priest has an extremely pure dragon bloodline. That's impossible. Xiao Hua pinches his chin and says with a smile, previously I wanted to lend you a hand but now I want to take a trip to Dragon Island. As for the Immortal Palace, I naturally have other ways. That's good. Ao Zhantian smiled. Taoist priest's cultivation is too high. What I promised you earlier. At this point Ao Zhantian was shocked again. He looked at Xiao Hua in surprise and said in a low voice, Taoist priest Xiao Yu, could it be that you want to go to Dragon Island, to avoid the Immortal Palace? Xiao Hua's heart skipped a beat. He looked at Ao Zhantian with a faint smile and asked, what? If I do that, won't I implicate you? Not necessarily. Ao Zhantian bit down on his lower lip as he replied bitterly, there are humans and demons who die on Dragon Island every time we train. As my bodyguard, it's normal for you to die on Dragon Island. If Taoist Master has the means to avoid the Dragon Island's dragon clan, that would naturally be good. However, I'm afraid that you'll overeat yourself and be killed by the dragon clan. Well, since fellow Taoist Ao mentioned this, then I won't hide it from fellow Taoist. I do have some matters to attend to on Dragon Island. But don't worry, fellow Taoist Ao, this matter absolutely won't cause any trouble for you. How could Ao Zhantian be at ease when he saw Xiao Hua's confident expression? But now he couldn't turn back. After all, he was the one who invited Xiao Hua. Moreover, Xiao Hua had helped him obtain the qualifications for the selection. Xiao Hua's strength far surpassed his. He simply didn't have the ability to stop Xiao Hua. Seeing that Ao Zhantian was a little unwilling, Xiao Hua wanted to tell him about his disguise technique and the dragon tribe's invisibility technique. However, these were all Xiao Hua's own secrets, and he couldn't possibly tell Ao Zhantian. Isn't this similar to when this Xiao was forced to go to Inkcloud Black Forest? Xiao Hua sighed. This Xiao clearly knew that it would be disadvantageous for him, but he still had to go. Things have changed with the passage of time. It's just that the foundation establishment stage has been replaced by the nascent soul stage Ao Zhantian, and the golden core stage Xie Zhiqin has been replaced by the current Xiao Hua. As the saying goes, I'm a fish on a chopping board. With these grudges, Ao Zhantian seemed to have something on his mind. He lowered his head and steered the flying boat without saying anything. Xiao Hua originally wanted to ask more about Dragon Island, but seeing this he could only give up. After flying for another dozen or so days, aside from a few sea beasts that were far more powerful than Ao Zhantian, there were also many violent storms. The storms in the depths of the North Sea were even more ferocious than the Crimson Explosion. However, the storms didn't have the corrosive power of the Crimson Explosion. With Xiao Hua's assistance, Ao Zhantian's flying boat didn't encounter any particular danger. Even so, Ao Zhantian's flying boat was slightly damaged when an irregular reef appeared in the boundless sea. After flying above the reef, Ao Zhantian heaved a sigh of relief. He looked at Xiao Hua with a complicated expression and said, this is truly beyond my expectations. Aside from the powerful sea beasts in the depths of the North Sea, the storms are also so ferocious. If it weren't for the Taoist master, I wouldn't have been able to survive the onslaught of the sea beasts. Even this storm would have been able to reduce me to ashes. Fellow Taoist Ao. Xiaohua waved his hand with a smile. Although these sea beasts and storms are powerful, they aren't enough to take your life. The dangers of the North Sea shouldn't lie here, but rather in its boundlessness. This boundlessness far surpasses that of the hidden immortal continent, and the powerful beings in this sea also far surpass that of the hidden immortal continent. When we entered this foreign world, danger came one after another and there was no end to it. Ai, that's right. Ao Zhantian sighed. In my early years I was successful in my cultivation and felt that I could go anywhere. However, after leaving the Yong prefecture, I discovered that the hidden immortal continent actually had the 9 prefectures. The 9 prefectures were filled with powerful beings and I really wasn't much. When I traveled the 9 prefectures, I heard about the strange stories of the 1,000 demons' sacred realm and the pure land of ultimate bliss. I also discovered that the 3 continents were even bigger. I was really just a drop in the ocean. When I participated in the first selection of the Dragon Island, I discovered that the 4 seas were incomparably vast compared to the 3 continents. Just like when I entered the nascent soul realm from the Golden Core realm, there were even more unknowns before my eyes. After saying this, Ao Zhantian raised his head and looked at the distant horizon. After a long time he said, however, after the selection I came here again. After a short 10 days of experience I realized that the road ahead would be even more difficult. If I want to see the beautiful scenery in the distance, I can only use this trip to the Dragon Island to raise my strength to a new height. Good. Xiaohua clapped his hands and said, fellow Taoist Ao, I'm afraid that this kind of spirit is the fearless spirit of our Taoist cultivators. Only a cultivator with this kind of spirit can stand out among the numerous Confucian cultivators. I'm sure that in the future, fellow Taoist Ao will be able to stand out among the hidden immortal cultivators. I'm ashamed. Ao Zhantian's face was burning as he said, only an enlightened master has the ability to stand out among the hidden immortal cultivators. If I rely on the power of the Dragon Island to escape from the control of the Confucian cultivators, it's already not bad. As long as you have the belief, it will come true sooner or later. Xiaohua said with a faint smile. Alright, I'll take your blessings. I hope that one day I'll be able to surpass you. Ao Zhantian's mood was slightly relaxed as he said with a smile, enlightened master, please sit tight. Do we still need to fly? Xiaohua was slightly taken aback. He thought that this reef was the place where he had agreed to meet with the dragon tribe. Ha ha ha. Ao Zhantian laughed and said, this is only a transit point. We're still far from where the Dragon Island emissary wants us to go. Alright. Xiaohua sat down cross-legged and said, I'll listen to fellow Taoist Ao's arrangements as a guard. Ao Zhantian rubbed his hands together and struck the flying boat with several spell seals. The entire boat flashed with a blue light. This light was different from before, it was thicker and smoother. Then, as Ao Zhantian made a series of hand seals, the flying boat soared into the sea and headed in another direction. The flying boat flew for another 10 days or so. During this time the entire seabed was extremely peaceful. The storms and sea beasts that they had encountered before had all disappeared. The entire seabed was filled with leisurely swimming fish. The beautiful and exotic scenery made the 2 Taoist cultivators gasp in amazement, and the displeasure in Ao Zhantian's heart gradually faded. On this day, just when the flying boat passed by an undercurrent in the sea and was about to adjust its direction, a valiant primordial thought swept over from afar with the help of the seawater. A cold voice asked using the dragon language, are you the human practitioners who passed the selection and came to the Dragon Island to gain experience? Ao Zhantian was shocked and didn't dare to control the flying boat. He stood on the boat and bowed respectfully. I am Ao Zhantian from the North Sea Dragon Palace selection area. I have already obtained the Shi Tingbao, please inspect it. As he spoke, Ao Zhantian took out the Shi Tingbao and held it in his hand. Xiaohua stood to the side and bowed slightly. He didn't say anything as he listened to Ao Zhantian's somewhat clumsy and error-filled draconic language. And? The Dragon Island envoy didn't understand Ao Zhantian's draconic language, but he looked at the Shi Tingbao in his hand and replied, you're finally here. You're the last one. You actually made me wait for half a month. As he spoke, the flying boat flew into the distance without needing to be controlled. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, a dragon tool that looked like a water droplet appeared in front of Xiaohua and Ao Zhantian. This dragon tool was tens of thousands of feet long and was azure in color, similar to the color of the sea. An armored dragon stood on top of the dragon tool. Before Xiaohua and Ao Zhantian could get close to the dragon tool, a powerful draconic aura came from the dragon tool and the dragon tool, forcing the two of them to use their auras to resist. Ao Zhantian knew that the Dragon Island envoy was getting impatient from waiting. He smiled apologetically and said, "I'll let you know, Lord Envoy. I encountered Qi Bao when I was killing the water rhino and was trapped in the Forbidden Spring Sea. That's why I came here. Please forgive me, Lord Envoy." "You encountered Qi Bao from a few days ago? Hehe, how unlucky." The Dragon Island envoy's cold dragon face became slightly livelier after hearing this. He raised his hand and put away the Shi Tingbao that Ao Zhantian handed over. He then looked at Xiao Hua and said, "Is this the guard you mentioned in the dragon stratagem?" "This." Ao Zhantian hesitated for a moment before nodding. "That's right. According to the rules of the Dragon Island, I can bring guards to participate in the training. He is the guard I reported to at the Dragon Island. And your guard's strength is not bad." The Dragon Island envoy didn't even ask for Xiao Hua's name. He waved his hand and said, "Hurry up and enter the Dragon Island. In a few days, most of the sea will sweep through this region. If we're late, I'm afraid it will be dangerous." Chapter 3988. "Yes, my lord." Ao Zhantian replied respectfully. He put away the flying boat and nodded at Xiao Hua before following the dragon envoy into the travel dragon. Xiao Hua was very careful. He didn't release any of his divine sense or elemental will. He only used the water escape technique to follow behind Ao Zhantian. After entering the travel dragon, Xiao Hua's eyes lit up. The interior of the travel dragon was dozens of times larger than it looked from the outside. Apart from some ponds, flowers, rocks, and hills, there were even some pavilions hidden among the hills. It didn't look like a flying boat at all. In fact, not to mention Xiao Hua, even Ao Zhantian was slightly stunned. The dragon envoy landed in midair and asked indifferently, "Ao Zhantian, do you want to live in the pavilion or among the hills?" Ao Zhantian came to his senses and smiled. "I am a human. I will live in the pavilion. And this is the jade token for the pavilion. It was refined with a human Dao spell. Take a look for yourself." The dragon envoy waved his hand, and a verdant jade badge landed in front of Ao Zhantian. There are no other rules in the traveling dragon aside from the prohibition of all fights. If anyone dares to start a fight, I will kill them all. Yes. Ao Zhantian's heart trembled as he received the jade token. The dragon envoy disappeared in a flash. Ao Zhantian released his divine sense and looked at the jade token. He smiled. "Daoist Shao, please follow me." "Daoist Ao, please?" Xiao Hua smiled. "I'm your guard now. You don't have to be so polite. And this Ao understands." Ao Zhantian nodded. His figure flew forward and Xiao Hua followed behind. After flying for a short while, he felt an elemental will sweep over from the pond below him. It just so happened that a large monster that looked like a lizard was lying lazily in the mud beside the pond. Its fist-sized eyes flashed with a ferocious expression. Less than 100 feet away from the pond, a golden python was coiled around an ancient tree. On the python's forehead, there was a single horn that was very eye-catching. This demonic beast's vital intent was extremely powerful, and Ao Zhantian knew that he wasn't a match for it. Thus, he didn't even release his divine sense as he continued to fly past the lake and the ancient trees. By the time Xiao Hua and Ao Zhantian arrived at a pavilion near a hill, the two of them had already encountered dozens of powerful demonic beasts. There was even a giant bat hanging upside down from a tree branch. Xiao Hua couldn't help but think back to everything he had seen in the Spring Lightning Palace. He wanted to ask a few questions, but when he thought about Ao Zhantian, who also had a dragon bloodline, who knew how his bloodline had been passed down, he didn't dare to say anything more. Ao Zhantian activated his jade badge and unlocked the restrictions on the pavilion. The two of them went in to take a look. The layout of the pavilion was similar to that of an ordinary human's residence. However, there were very few furnishings inside, and it was somewhat similar to a quiet room. Xiao Hua took a look and said, "Fellow Taoist Ao, since the Dragon Island's emissary has arranged a pavilion for us, I'm afraid it will take some time to get to the Dragon Island. What plans do you have during this period of time?" Ao Zhantian already had a plan in mind. He smiled and said, "Since it's an experiential training, there will be risks. Before the experiential training, increasing our strength is the most important thing. However, I'm sure there are more than just the two of us in the Travel Dragon Island. If we can make friends with a few of them, not only can we help each other during the experiential training, we can also look after each other when we return to the hidden immortal continent. I'm thinking." At this point, Ao Zhantian suddenly remembered that he had promised to serve Xiao Hua for 1,000 years. He didn't know if Xiao Hua would be unhappy if he made friends with Confucian cultivators in the Travel Dragon Island. Xiaohua didn't think too much about it. He nodded and said, "Fellow Taoist AO is right. During the experiential training I might not be by your side. It would be best if there were a few human cultivators in the Travel Dragon Island. You can do as you wish. I'm going to cultivate by myself." AO Zhantian was overjoyed. He hurriedly said, "If that's the case, then you can go to the quiet room to cultivate. I'll cultivate outside and make friends with other cultivators." "All right." Xiaohua nodded and walked into the quiet room. As he walked, he said, "If you have any problems with your cultivation, you can come and find me." "I understand." AO Zhantian smiled and sat down cross-legged. He closed his eyes and seemed to be thinking about something. Xiaohua entered the quiet room and found a random place. He also sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes to cultivate. Boom. Not long after, the entire quiet room trembled slightly. Then, a loud sound of water came from outside the quiet room. Xiaohua understood that the Travel Dragon Island was finally activated. His trip to the Dragon Island had finally come to fruition. Sigh, it's so difficult. Xiaohua thought about how many things had happened since he found out that there was a possibility of Little White's body forming on the Dragon Island. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. He wanted to tell Little White, but he was afraid that there would be more problems. After all, the dragon cleansing pond on the Dragon Island wasn't an ordinary pond. Anyone could go there. Who knew where the dragon cleansing pond was? Who knew what kind of dangers lay within? Forget it, it won't be too late to tell Little White after we reach the dragon cleansing pond. Xiaohua calculated and began his rare meditation. This meditation lasted for more than half a year. At first, Xiaohua only cultivated the Taoist techniques. However, the more he cultivated, the more profound he felt it was. The nascent soul in his lower dantian felt like it was flying. Xiaohua knew that it was time for him to enter the spirit-severing stage. He didn't dare to advance in the Travel Dragon Island. Therefore, he temporarily put aside the Taoist techniques and began to cultivate the scarlet nascent soul. What puzzled Xiaohua was that under the scarlet nascent soul, his nascent soul began to feel heavy. The profound feeling of flying gradually disappeared. Strange. Xiaohua scratched his head. If this is the case, then this Xiao will cultivate both the Taoist techniques and the scarlet nascent soul. If the scarlet nascent soul is stronger than the Taoist techniques, then this Xiao will never be able to step into the spirit-severing stage? Of course, after pondering for a moment, Xiaohua laughed inwardly. How is that possible? When water is full, it will overflow. When the realm reaches a certain level, no matter how strong the scarlet nascent soul is, the realm will not advance. At that time, if I forcefully increase the scarlet nascent soul, it will create an imbalance between the meridians and nascent soul. This will create pressure on the physical body. The physical body may not be able to withstand the strength of the nascent soul, and in the end, the nascent soul will scatter. Therefore, when the realm reaches a certain level, it is still necessary to advance. However, this is a new technique that is stuck in the lower realm. If I want to hide it from the immortal palace in the future, I might as well give it a try. With this thought in mind, Xiaohua didn't dare to forcefully cultivate the scarlet nascent soul after reaching a certain level. He looked outside the meditation room. AO Zhantian would occasionally cultivate and occasionally go out. Occasionally, there would be Confucian and Taoist cultivators coming to visit him. Xiaohua began to cultivate the lightning technique. After half a year, Xiaohua's lightning technique had reached a new height. On this day, two tall Confucian cultivators came to visit AO Zhantian in the pavilion. Suddenly, a loud woo-woo sound came from outside the pavilion. Then, a voice that was as loud as a bell rang out within the Travel Dragon. "How dare you!" This voice was filled with anger. Following this voice, all of the restrictions within the Travel Dragon disappeared in a flash. Xiaohua's meditation room was no exception. "Oh, fellow immortal AO, you have other immortal friends in this pavilion?" A Confucian cultivator wearing a bright yellow Confucian robe and an ancient Confucian headscarf frowned. He was originally shocked by the loud sound and wanted to stand up. However, when he saw Xiaohua's figure appear in the meditation room, he couldn't help but ask in a loud voice. AO Zhantian smiled. "Brother Chiron, this is a guard I brought with me. He's the same as your servant. However, he likes to cultivate. He went into seclusion as soon as he reached the dragon form, so I didn't introduce him." Then AO Zhantian said to Xiaohua, "Taoist Master Xiao, this is immortal friend AO Chiron of the Qing province and his clan, immortal friend AO Moran AO. Come and greet them." "This one is Xiaohua. Greetings, fellow immortals." Xiaohua fluttered over and cupped his hands in greeting. When the two immortal friends heard Xiaohua's name, they didn't have any strange expressions. It was as if they had never heard of Xiaohua's deeds. They glanced at Xiaohua and nodded slightly. Fellow immortal friend Zhao's cultivation is not bad. We also like you. Like fellow immortal Zhantian, you were able to benefit from the dragon god's blessing on the dragon island and improve your cultivation. Hehe, thank you for your auspicious words, fellow immortals. Xiaohua saw that the two of them didn't return the greeting and were even indifferent to his reputation. He already knew that the two of them were arrogant and didn't even put the immortal palace in their eyes. He smiled and asked Ao Zhantian, fellow Taoist Ao, what happened? Could it be that we've reached the Dragon Island? Who said we've reached the Dragon Island? Ao Chiron smirked and replied indifferently, how can we reach the Dragon Island in such a short period of time? If it was someone else they might have retorted. However, Xiaohua only glanced at Ao Chiron and ignored him. Instead he said to Ao Zhantian again, fellow Taoist Ao, from that voice, it should be the Dragon Envoy. There's a hint of anger in his voice. What's more, all the restrictions on the Dragon Island have been removed. If it wasn't for something strange happening, then the Dragon Envoy must have encountered. Before Xiaohua could finish, the Dragon Envoy called out in a calm voice, you all can come out. Are you telling us to come out? Ao Moran was a little surprised and looked at Ao Chiron. Ao Chiron was also puzzled. However, just as the two of them were hesitating, Xiaohua stepped out of the pavilion first. Ao Zhantian didn't want to offend the two of them. He raised his hand and said, fellow immortals, please. Xiaohua walked out of the pavilion, and saw that the space outside the pavilion was filled with multicolored clouds, and a huge dragon with dazzling brilliance was coiled within the clouds, and a fierce murderous aura was like a flying sword swimming in the entire space. Xiaohua didn't dare to be negligent. He hurriedly stopped and looked around with narrowed eyes. He saw that in the surrounding pavilions, in the distant stone beach, ponds and ancient trees, thousands of humans and demons had all revealed themselves. They were all like Xiaohua and looked around with confusion. No one dared to release their yuan intent. Chapter 3989. Good, good, good. The giant dragon roared good 3 times in mid-air, causing the entire dragon travel to tremble. The dozen or so pythons trembled under the dragon's might, almost pissing their pants. The 3 human cultivators standing beside Xiaohua were also pale. It was as if the dragon's might was more powerful than anything else. Listen up, all of you. I was ordered to bring you to the Dragon Island, so I don't want to cause trouble. The grudges between you all have nothing to do with me. The giant dragon shook its head, and a voice that could deafen an ordinary person sounded. The voice was filled with anger. If you want to live or die, you can do whatever you want on the Dragon Island. Now, no one is allowed to make a move within the dragon travel. I'll pretend I didn't know what happened just now. If anyone dares to act rashly, humph, don't blame me for being impolite. After saying that, the giant dragon sneezed. The sound was as loud as thunder. Even someone as strong as Xiaohua felt his knees tremble slightly. Ao Zhantian and the other two almost fell to the ground as their knees buckled. After the giant dragon finished speaking, the entire dragon travel stirred up a hurricane, and the clouds surged like waves. In an instant, the giant dragon's body was swept away and disappeared. The giant dragon left, leaving behind the bewildered humans and monsters. After a while, the dragon travel trembled slightly as if it was beginning to move. Then waves of light flashed and demonic chi filled the air again. The restrictions of the dragon travel were triggered again. The beasts and humans looked at each other and seemed to understand something. They all returned to their secluded places. Xiaohua and the other 3 returned to the pavilion and sat down. Ao Zhantian said in a low voice, which Taoist is so bold? He actually dares to make a move within the dragon travel? Ao Moran replied without hesitation, is there a need to ask? It must be a demon. To be able to make a move without being noticed by the dragon envoy, this kind of ability. I'm afraid there's no such thing in the human race. Hearing this, Ao Zhantian looked at Xiaohua thoughtfully. He was clearly suspicious of Xiaohua. However, when he thought about how Xiaohua was in the secluded room when the dragon envoy was angry, Ao Zhantian didn't think too much. He thought for a moment and asked curiously, since it's a demon with such strength, he must be outstanding in this trial. Why would he risk offending the Dragon Island by making a move here? Could it be that he feels that the gains from the experience on Dragon Island are not as great as the benefits of fighting? Ao Chiron smiled, shrugged his shoulders and said, this is not something that we can know. We're just human cultivators, it's already our great fortune to be able to enter the Dragon Island to train. Moreover, the place where we train is definitely not the same as those demon cultivators. Why do we have to think for them? That's right, that's right. Ao Moran also glanced at the silent Xiaohua and said, we won't offend the dragon envoy, so why should we care about them? Let's continue to discuss how to obtain more benefits in the training grounds. I heard that Su Province's Ao Gu has already joined forces with more than a dozen great masters who have refined their spirit to the void. Obviously he has some ulterior motives. Ao Chiron lowered his voice and said with great dissatisfaction, we still need to be more careful. When Ao Zhantian heard this, his face darkened. He glanced at Xiaohua again and said with some regret, unfortunately when we went to visit Senior Ao Gu, he happened to not be in the pavilion. Old man. Ao Moran snorted and cursed, Brother Zhantian, don't be fooled by him. Later on I found out that he wasn't in the pavilion. It was because, ahem? Ao Chiron coughed lightly and said, since Senior Ao Gu doesn't put our Qing Province's Ao family in his eyes, why should we cling to him? Didn't Ao Moyun say that Ao Gu only has the dragon race in his eyes and has always been proud of his pure bloodline? That. Xiaohua listened for a bit, then smiled and said, Brothers Ao, please discuss this carefully. No matter what you decide, I will help fellow Taoist Zhantian. I was just going to cultivate. Ao Zhantian naturally knew the meaning of Xiaohua's words and replied, in that case, you should go meditate. Ao Chiron and Ao Moran nodded slightly with a trace of doubt in their eyes. When Xiaohua entered the meditation room and activated the restriction, Ao Moran said with a smile, Brother Zhantian, your guard is really not simple. Ao Zhantian was stunned and asked curiously, Brother Moran can see it? Only a fool can't see it. Ao Chiron said with a smile, just now, when Lord Dragon Envoy showed his power, the three of us were so scared that we almost collapsed, but your guard's knees only went soft. He doesn't have dragon bloodline, so he doesn't need to be intimidated by Lord Dragon Envoy's dragon might. But with Lord Dragon Envoy's strength, even a human cultivator of the 5th level of essence power would be shocked. Ao Zhantian smiled bitterly and nodded, you two brothers are right. Maybe I already have a certain understanding of Taoist Master Zhao's strength, so I turned a blind eye and didn't think too much about it. Ao Zhantian emphasized Taoist Master Xiao, but Ao Chiron and Ao Moran didn't understand. It seemed that they really didn't know the name Xiaohua. With this help we have a little more confidence. Ao Chiron smiled slightly and then began to discuss with Ao Moran. Ao Zhantian opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but in the end he swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. Xiaohua entered the quiet room and didn't pay attention to the movements outside, nor did he need to listen carefully. Naturally it was some training arrangements. These had nothing to do with him, so he naturally wouldn't care. After sitting down cross-legged, Xiaohua seized the time to cultivate. After an unknown amount of time, a loud woo-woo sound rang out. The restriction outside the quiet room once again shook and disappeared in an instant. Although the dragon envoy's voice didn't ring out, Xiaohua was startled. He hastily sat up from the ground, looked at the empty pavilion, and hastily walked out of the pavilion. However, as soon as he stepped out of the pavilion, boom! A huge dragon's breath mixed with a wave-like fluctuation surged from afar. Wherever it went, everything within the dragon's travel was imprisoned. Xiaohua was shocked, but he quickly gave up resisting. After all, this fluctuation wasn't just the dragon envoy's divine ability, but also the entire travel of dragon's demonic formation. He was inside the demonic formation, so he probably couldn't resist. Moreover, Xiaohua was originally an outsider, so why would he need to add fuel to the fire? Oh, who is it? The dragon envoy was no longer in his giant dragon demon form. Instead, he had transformed into a small dragon that was about 10 feet long. He roared in the air as he pushed the energy waves forward. He was holding 2 corpses of demonic beasts in his claws. One of them was a golden horn python that was about 10 feet long. The dragon horn on its forehead was already broken. The other was a lizard-like demonic beast, but this demonic beast's body was covered in dragon scales, and 2 half-inch long dragon horns also protruded from its forehead. This demonic beast's body was covered in bloody holes. These bloody holes had already dried up. The dragon envoy flew over Xiaohua's head and didn't even look at him. With a boom, the dragon tail smashed into the pavilion that was hundreds of feet away from Xiaohua, causing the entire pavilion to collapse. When he looked at the pavilion again, he didn't even see a shadow. Who knew if there were other human cultivators inside? Oh no, where did Ao Zhantian go? Xiaohua was startled. In just the time it takes to smoke a cigarette in the distant sky, there is a sudden clap of thunder. A demonic beast that looks like a rhinoceros appears in the midst of the clap of thunder. Xiao Hua understands that this demonic beast is called Chengju. However, this Chengju was different from others. Although its body wasn't covered in dragon scales, the exposed parts were covered in layers of dragon patterns, especially its tail, which was curled up slightly. Speak. Chengju had just stabilized himself in the air when he saw a flash of light not far away. The dragon envoy's figure appeared and a cold voice sounded. Did you do it? My lord, please calm down. Chengju's figure was slightly distorted in the lightning, and even his voice was trembling. However, his tone was still firm. This humble one definitely didn't do it. Humph, in the entire traveling dragon, only you are the mortal enemy of Dragon Python and D-Dicky. You dare say you didn't do it? The dragon envoy snorted coldly, and the lightning surged around Chengju like a roar. This humble one is the mortal enemy of those two. But now that I'm in Lord's traveling dragon, how can this humble one do it? Chengju felt wronged. Besides, this humble one passed the selection with great difficulty, and still wanted to train on Dragon Island. Even if this humble one wants to kill them, I have to go to Dragon Island first. On Dragon Island, I can get rid of them and also obtain treasures. Why wouldn't this humble one do it? Why would I offend Lord and Traveling Dragon? I've already suspected you. Of course, the dragon envoy wouldn't let Chengju go. He sneered. I warned you earlier. But why weren't you in the cave when D-Dicky died? I'll let Lord know. Chengju hurriedly shouted. This humble one has already met Dragon Python and D-Dicky before entering Traveling Dragon. They are my mortal enemies. How can this humble one fight against the two of them? This humble one naturally looked for help in Traveling Dragon. If you don't believe me, you can ask Ching-Chi. Ching-Chi. The dragon envoy roared and threw the two corpses in its claws into the air. The other claw under its abdomen reached out, and a demon with a snake's body and fleshy wings was pulled out from what seemed to be a dense forest in the distance. This humble one is here. Ching-Chi's voice was also trembling. The dragon envoy glanced at him and shouted, Is what Ching-Ju said true? Yes. Ching-Chi screamed. Although this humble one didn't know Ching-Ju's whereabouts when Lord stopped Traveling Dragon for the first time, Ching-Ju was discussing with this humble one when Lord stopped Traveling Dragon just now. Ching-Chi stole a glance at the dragon envoy and didn't continue. The dragon envoy was furious. Speak. If you wanted to discuss, why didn't you do it in your own cave? Ching-Chi smiled bitterly. My lord, some things are not easy to talk about in the cave. It won't attract attention outside. Chapter 3990. Ching-Jin. The dragon envoy exerted force with his claw, and a dozen deep cracks appeared on Ching-Jin's body as if he was cut by a sharp sword. Do you want to live or die? If you don't want to talk, I'll just kill you right here and now. Yes. At this point, how could Ching-Jin care about keeping it a secret? As he spoke, he hurriedly transmitted his voice. The dragon envoy's expression changed slightly. He looked at Ching-Jin and then at Ma Daichi and thought for a moment. If that's the case then, it really wasn't you who killed the dragon python? My lord, it definitely wasn't me. Ching-Jin smiled bitterly. I really didn't have to offend the dignity of Dragon Island in the Travel of Dragon. Damn it, then who was it? The dragon envoy roared again. With a swing of his claw, he threw Ching-Jin and Ma Daichi out of the air. Then, the dragon envoy grabbed a dozen powerful demons from the Travel of Dragon who could kill Ching-Jin and Ma Daichi. However, these demons all swore that they didn't do anything. They also had evidence that they didn't leave the cave or the place where they were resting. In the end, the dragon envoy had no choice but to laugh coldly. With a swing of his tail, he flew away with the dragon python and Ma Daichi's corpse. After a while, the Travel of Dragon shook slightly and set sail again. Xiao Hua felt the restrictions around him recede like the tide. Interesting. Xiao Hua rubbed his chin and looked at the panicked humans and demons around him. He narrowed his eyes and thought to himself, there's a fight in the Travel of Dragon, but a demon actually killed two demons in a row under the dragon envoy's nose. Isn't this an obvious provocation to Dragon Island and the dragon envoy? But the strange thing is, the dragon envoy controls the entire Travel of Dragon. Can't he monitor the entire Travel of Dragon? Could it be that he can only drive the Travel of Dragon but not control it? If that's the case, then what I do won't be noticed by him. When the surroundings quieted down, Xiao Hua walked back to the pavilion. He didn't enter the quiet room but sat outside and waited for Ao Zhantian. Sure enough, Ao Zhantian hurried back not long after. His face was pale or even pale. When Ao Zhantian saw Xiao Hua, he immediately asked, Spiritual Master Xiao, these two demons. Xiao Hua knew what Ao Zhantian was going to say and he waved his hand with a smile. I've been cultivating in my silent chamber this entire time, and I haven't left at all. How could the deaths of these two demonic beasts have anything to do with me? Besides, let's not talk about whether I have the strength to kill the dragon python and Dicky. Even if it's that dragon envoy, do you think I have the cultivation to hide from him? Ao Zhantian's expression stabilized slightly, and he sat down with a smile. Why not? If there is a human with such a cultivation base in the entire traveling dragon, in my eyes Reverend Xiao is the first choice. Ao Zhantian was obviously joking, and Xiao Hua also spoke in a righteous manner. Cultivator Ao, you can't say things like that. Otherwise I'll report you to the dragon envoy for slander. Hehe, go ahead, enlighten Master. Ao Zhantian replied. Master Dragon Envoy is in a terrible fix right now, so he won't care about you. If you go, you might just be offending Master Dragon Envoy and he'll teach you a lesson. Hehe. Xiao Hua smiled and took out some spirit fruits from his space and placed them on the jade table. He picked one up and put it in his mouth and asked, looking at your flustered appearance, could it be that these two matters are somewhat troublesome? Ao Zhantian heaved a sigh of relief, and he also put a spirit fruit in his mouth. He chuckled. Of course they're troublesome, and the entire traveling dragon is in an uproar. They're all discussing who has the guts to do this. To be honest, at this point Ao Zhantian transmitted his voice. Ao Chiron and the others suspect that a powerful expert has infiltrated the traveling dragon to cause trouble for Dragon Island. The first person I thought of was you. Xiao Hua was taken aback. Why me? Because you're the only one who isn't here for the trial, Ao Zhantian said mysteriously. In fact, I don't think you have anything to ask of Dragon Island, so I can't help but suspect you. Xiao Hua smiled bitterly. I don't have that kind of strength. Ao Zhantian pursed his lips and chuckled. But why do I feel like you do? This? Xiao Hua pondered for a bit, then became somewhat silent. If the Dragon Clan's messenger couldn't completely monitor the traveling dragon, with his superb concealment technique, whatever he wanted to do, the Dragon Clan's messenger really wouldn't be able to discover it. However, Xiao Hua shook his head and smiled. It doesn't matter if I have the strength or not. The important thing is, what kind of person am I? So, Ao Zhantian nodded. Although I think you have the possibility, Taoist Master is merciful and won't hurt people easily. The demon race in the traveling dragon has nothing to do with me, so there's no need for Taoist Master to provoke them. Then what are you worried about? Xiao Hua asked with a faint smile. Ao Zhantian smiled and didn't explain. Xiao Hua didn't ask any more questions. Then Ao Zhantian told Xiao Hua about what happened during this period of time. Only then did Xiao Hua know that there were more than 1,900 humans and demon race that went to Dragon Island to train. Among them there were more than 700 humans. These 700 people were spread across the 9 prefectures of the hidden immortal continent. Of course, according to other cultivators with the surname Ao, there were at least 4 such traveling Dragon Island or even more. In other words, there were at least 8,000 descendants of the dragon tribe that went to Dragon Island for the trial. Although there were many human cultivators on the traveling Dragon Island, their strength was still a lot weaker than the demon race. However, the human race cultivators were best at forming alliances. During this period of time, the entire human race cultivators were roughly divided into 9 alliances according to the geography of the 9 regions. Outside of these alliances, there were also some small alliances formed by blood relatives or old friends. Because Ao Zhantian was a Dao sect cultivator, he couldn't integrate into the 9 alliances. He formed a small alliance with Ao Chiron, Ao Moran, and a dozen others. Of course, these dozen or so people couldn't compare to the hundreds of cultivators in the Great Alliance. However, according to Ao Zhantian, Ao Chiron was on good terms with a few cultivators from the Qing Province Great Alliance. Although he couldn't let them join the Great Alliance, if they could train together they would be taken care of. When he heard the end, Xiao Hua smiled lightly and asked, Fellow Taoist Ao, your cultivation can be considered to be not bad among our Taoist sect's cultivators. However, compared to Confucian cultivators, it's quite a bit lacking. What benefits can you obtain by following them to gain experience like this? Ao Zhantian's expression was very bitter. He looked at Xiao Hua and said, This Ao wants to train with Taoist Master, but Taoist Master left this Ao alone. What do you want this Ao to do? Moreover, this Ao has already made it clear to Taoist Master that the trial is secondary. The most important thing is to leave my name on Dragon Island. When this Ao breaks through in the future, I don't want to be killed by the Immortal Palace. Of course, if I can get some benefits from following Moran and the others, this AO would be happy. And that's true. Xiaohua nodded. With fellow Taoist AO's attitude, perhaps you can get some good benefits. Thank you for your kind words. AO Zhantian smiled and asked, this AO has some small questions in his cultivation that I haven't been able to answer. I wonder if Taoist master can help me? Xiaohua replied without hesitation, of course. This is something that this Xiao has already promised. Then AO Zhantian asked some of his questions. Xiaohua didn't hide anything and told AO Zhantian everything he knew. AO Zhantian was enlightened and his whole body trembled. Xiaohua's lecture lasted for more than 10 days. On this day, Xiaohua had just shared some of his experiences from the nascent soul condensation stage to the spirit severing stage, and AO Zhantian was listening with great interest. All of a sudden, the entire dragon travel trembled. However, unlike before, all the restrictions disappeared. However, both Xiaohua and AO Zhantian's expressions changed slightly. They looked at each other and floated out of the pavilion at the same time. Sure enough, just outside the pavilion, the entire Dragon Island was filled with colorful clouds. In the air, there was the corpse of a demonic beast that was at least 1,000 feet long. This corpse looked like a rhinoceros, but its head was a dragon's head and its 4 hooves were similar to dragon claws. At this moment, there were still drops of blood dripping from the corpse, as if it had just been killed. This is Jinghong. AO Zhantian looked at the corpse and then at the humans and demonic beasts flying out of the Dragon Island. He whispered to Xiaohua, in terms of strength she should be at the lower 6th level of origin energy. She can be considered one of the top experts in the Dragon Island. Damn it, what's going on? Xiaohua frowned and whispered, 3 demonic beasts have already died. Who is the culprit? Could it be that the dragon envoy hasn't found the culprit yet? You're amazing. This old man is full of admiration. At this moment, the dragon envoy's mocking voice came from the depths of the clouds. You dare to disregard the dignity of the Dragon Island and commit murder on the Dragon Island? Don't you know that the Dragon Island is the final destination of the Dragon Island? Do you think you can escape the arrest of the Dragon Island? The dragon envoy's voice reverberated in the air. Of course, no one from the demonic beasts or humans answered. However, it seemed like the dragon envoy didn't intend to hear any response. With a loud bang, Jinghong's corpse landed on the Dragon Island. The clouds in the sky disappeared and the dragon envoy was gone. Sigh, so troublesome. AO Zhantian sighed and turned to walk towards the pavilion. This is the first time I've participated in a training exercise and I've already encountered such a thing. When the Dragon Island arrives, who knows what kind of trouble will occur. Let's talk as we walk. Xiaohua didn't mind. After all, this was the demonic beast's grudge. The two returned to the pavilion and AO Zhantian continued to listen to Xiaohua's teachings. However, after a few days, another loud bang came from the Dragon Island. This time even Xiaohua was stunned. He stopped and looked at AO Zhantian. AO Zhantian also looked at Xiaohua. Neither of them stood up. After a while, Xiaohua said, Taoist AO, perhaps this matter is getting more and more troublesome. Chapter 3991. AO Zhantian shrugged. After a moment of shock, his expression turned indifferent. It has nothing to do with you or me. Why should we care? Sai, let's go out and take a look. Xiaohua thought for a moment and finally chose to stand up. AO Zhantian stood up helplessly, as if he still hadn't recovered from his previous experience. However, when they walked out of the pavilion and saw the corpse floating in the air, they were all shocked. Because there was a human cultivator lying in the air. This cultivator was wearing a golden soft armor. At this moment there was a huge hole in his chest. The soft armor was broken and blood was flowing out. Oh, Ao Jinghua. Ao Zhantian couldn't help but exclaim when he saw the face of this cultivator. He is a Confucian cultivator from the Jing province. Xiaohua's heart tightened. He hurriedly asked, could it be that this Ao Jinghua is also at the 6th grade of essence force? When Ao Zhantian heard this, he seemed to have thought of something. He suppressed the fear in his heart and said in a low voice, I don't know Ao Jinghua's exact strength, but I heard that he is only at the 5th grade of essence force. This. Xiaohua's eyes narrowed. Previously, he and Ao Zhantian both thought that this was an internal conflict between the demon race and that it involved the experts of the demon race. However, Ao Jinghua's death clearly told them that this was not just a matter of the demon race but also the human race. Xiaohua thought of it, so how could Ao Zhantian not think of it? Ao Zhantian's body turned cold. He looked left and right as if the murderer who killed 3 demons and 1 human was staring at him from the side. Pa! With a loud sound, Ao Jingwa's corpse was thrown to the ground. This time, the Dragon Island messenger didn't even bother to speak. The colorful clouds in the sky disappeared again. After the Dragon Island messenger left, Ao Zhantian didn't have time to say anything. He hurriedly returned to the pavilion with Xiaohua. Ao Zhantian entered the pavilion and hurriedly activated the restrictions. Then he released his divine sense and scanned the entire pavilion with suspicion. Only then did he calm down. Looking at Xiaohua, who was sitting calmly, he smiled bitterly. Daoist Xiao is really calm. And? Xiaohua replied. No matter what, this is a matter of the descendants of the dragon bloodline. I'm only an outsider. I won't be affected. But? Ao Zhantian was just about to speak when the restrictions on the pavilion were triggered. Ao Zhantian exclaimed in shock, "Who is it?" "Brother Heaven Slayer, it's me." Aomo Ran's voice came from outside the pavilion. Of course, this voice also revealed a trace of panic. "Brother Mo Ran, please wait a moment." Ao Zhantian activated his keepsake and opened the restriction on the pavilion. He didn't rush over to greet Ao Moran as enthusiastically as he did in the past. Instead, he intentionally kept his distance. In fact, Ao Zhantian had even drawn closer to Xiaohua. Ao Moran seemed to have something on his mind and ignored Ao Zhantian's vigilance. "Brother Zhantian, Mr. Mo Yuan has invited us over." Xiaohua knew that this Mo Yun was Ao Moyun from Su province. He was the leader of Ao Zhantian's group of human cultivators. "What is it, Mr. Mo Yun?" Ao Zhantian asked with furrowed brows. Ao Moran faltered slightly before looking up at Ao Zhantian with an impatient expression. "How would I know what's going on? Won't you know when you get there?" "All right." Ao Zhantian didn't want to go, but he had no choice. He looked at Xiaohua with a pleading expression and said, "Daoist Master Xiao, didn't you say that you wanted to see Mr. Mo Yuan's elegance? Why don't we go together?" Xiaohua nodded. "Hee, of course. You just praised Mr. Mo Yuan as a rarity in this world. I've long admired him. Perhaps I'll pay him a visit now." "Admire him?" Ao Moran faltered slightly before a spurious smile appeared on his face. He nodded and said, "Then please, fellow immortals." Xiaohua and Ao Zhantian then followed Ao Moran out of the pavilion. Ao Moyun's pavilion wasn't close to Ao Zhantian's. Although the 3 of them didn't use any flying techniques, their figures were like floating clouds and flowing water. It took them the time to finish a meal. Along the way, Xiaohua saw many pavilions, ancient trees, ponds and stone caves. However, without exception, all the restrictions were opened. It was rare to see any humans or demons outside the restrictions. The few demons that he saw were all staring at Xiaohua and the others like tigers eyeing their prey. They were abnormally vigilant. An aura of fear and trepidation gradually spread throughout the entire Longxing. Ao Moyun's pavilion was a little small, and the security was even higher than Ao Zhantian's. Ao Moran sent out a flying crane from afar. After the flying crane landed in the pavilion's restrictions were opened. Ao Chiron and another Confucian cultivator with an equally imposing appearance walked out. The Confucian cultivator looked at Ao Zhantian with some displeasure and said, "Zhantian, why did you bring your guard here for no reason?" Ao Chiron raised his eyebrows and hurriedly nudged the Confucian cultivator with his arm. He said with a smile, "Ao Sun, although this Taoist Master Xiao is Zhantian's guard, his strength is not bad. What's the use of strength?" The Confucian cultivator named Ao Sun waved his hand. "What time is it now? You still dare to bring a stranger here?" "This?" Ao Moran hesitated and said, "Although Taoist Master Xiao has never been here, we have already seen him in Zhantian's pavilion." Seeing Ao Moran and Ao Chiron's expressions, Xiaohua understood that this Ao Sun was probably more powerful than the 2 of them. He didn't want to make things difficult for Ao Zhantian, so he turned to Ao Zhantian and said with a smile, "In that case, Taoist Zhantian, you can go in by yourself. This Xiao will return to the pavilion." "All right." Ao Zhantian replied very apologetically. However, just as he opened his mouth, a leisurely female voice came from the pavilion, "Ao Sun, let Taoist Master Xiao in." When Xiaohua heard this, he unconsciously raised his eyebrows. He suddenly realized that this voice should belong to Ao Moyun. In other words, Ao Moyun was a woman and not a man like he thought. So, it was no wonder that Ao Moyun's face showed such a strange expression when he said admiration earlier. Walking into the pavilion, he saw that there were already more than a dozen Confucian cultivators gathered in the hall. Although these Confucian cultivators had different faces, their arrogant temperament was extremely similar. At first glance, everyone looked a little arrogant. Looking at the head of the hall, a graceful woman was sitting calmly behind a jade table. This woman was wearing black profound armor and looked valiant and formidable. Her beautiful face was like a peach blossom, and a pair of bright eyes were staring at Xiao Hua with interest. Alas, the bloodline of the dragon race is indeed powerful. Anyone in this pavilion would be a dragon or phoenix among men in the hidden immortal continent. Xiao Hua's gaze swept over and saw the situation in the pavilion clearly. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Then, seeing Ao Moyun looking at him, he took a few steps forward and cupped his hands. I'm Xiao Hua, greetings fellow Taoist Moyun. Taoist Xiao Hua, Taoist Xiao. Ao Moyun floated up and returned the greeting. I've heard of Taoist Zhao's name since long ago, and I admire you greatly in my heart. But I didn't expect to actually meet Taoist Xiao here. Seeing that Ao Moyun, who had always been cold and arrogant, was actually so solemn, and his words actually contained admiration, the crowd of Confucian cultivators surnamed Ao was shocked. Some of the whispering Confucian cultivators stopped, and their gazes fell on Xiao Hua. I don't dare. Xiao Hua said with a smile. I'm just a nobody. Compared to brother Ao, I'm not just a little bit inferior. Then Xiao Hua looked around and cupped his hands. Fellow Taoists, I'm only the guard of fellow Taoist Jianqian. Please feel free to discuss whatever you want. I won't express any opinion. Haha. Seeing Xiao Hua like this, Ao Moyun said with a smile, I really didn't expect that Jianqian would be so lucky to actually find a good helper like Taoist Xiao. In this way we can also bask in some of your glory. Hee. Xiao Hua knew that it wasn't good to be entangled in this kind of matter, so he smiled and found a corner to sit down cross-legged. He nodded slightly to everyone and stopped talking. When Ao Moyun saw that Xiao Hua didn't report his name to the other Confucian cultivators at all, he knew that Xiao Hua had no intention of getting involved in their plan, so it wasn't good for him to force it. He raised his hand with a smile on his face and everyone followed him to sit down. Then he heard him clear his throat and say, Everyone, I presume that you all understand why I invited you here, right? That's right. A Confucian cultivator who was closer to Ao Moyun said, Previously only the experts of the demon race were killed, so we didn't feel any sense of danger. We thought that it was an internal strife of the demon race, but we didn't expect that there would actually be cultivators of the human race killed today. If this isn't a cover-up, then there's something fishy about it. We're all extremely puzzled in our hearts. That's right. Another Confucian cultivator also said, Previously we could still be bystanders but now we have to be bystanders. Who wouldn't be afraid? If it weren't for Mr. Moyun inviting us here, we would have closed the pavilion and wouldn't even show our heads. What's the use of closing the restriction? Ao Moran sneered, even His Majesty was killed, and even Sir Dragon Envoy couldn't find a trace of the murderer. The restriction inside the traveling dragon. When Ao Moran said this, his face suddenly turned pale as if he had thought of something, and he looked at Ao Moyun with horror in his eyes. Ao Moyun smiled slightly and waved his hand. Moran, don't think too much. Sir Dragon Envoy is the envoy of Dragon Island, how could he do such a thing? Phew. Ao Moran breathed a sigh of relief and said with a smile, These things are too unbelievable, so this little brother has to think more. Presumably Sir Dragon Envoy won't blame me if he knows. If that's not the case, then there's a great expert hidden inside the traveling dragon that even Sir Dragon Envoy can't detect. Ao Zhantian naturally had to say something, but just as he finished speaking Ao Sun said coldly, We already knew this, but what we want to know now is what is this great expert doing? He killed 3 powerful demon race cultivators in a row, as well as a weak human race cultivator, for what reason? If it's purely to provoke Dragon Island, he only needs to kill the Dragon Envoy, right? There's no need to make things difficult for these dragon race descendants who have gone to Dragon Island for training, right? Chapter 3992. Following that, the dozen or so Confucian cultivators began to speculate about the truth of the matter. However, even if everyone had a theory, who knew which was the real truth? As for Xiao Hua, he had already closed his eyes and began to meditate. He didn't pay any attention to what everyone was saying. Ao Moyun would sometimes ask a question, and sometimes she would listen quietly. However, there would occasionally be a hint of anxiety in her eyes. She would even raise her head and look into the distance as if she was waiting for something. The group of Confucian cultivators discussed for half a day, but there was no conclusion. Ao Sun and the others stood up and prepared to leave. However, Ao Moyun smiled and said, "Could it be that you think I gathered everyone together, just to discuss this matter?" "What is it, Mr. Moyun?" Ao Sun was taken aback and hurriedly asked. Unfortunately, Ao Moyun smiled and didn't answer. Immediately, a look of realization appeared on Ao Zhantian's face. He said in a low voice, "Mr. Moyun wants to gather us together to prevent the murderer from killing us separately?" Ao Moyun nodded slightly, and a smile blossomed on her gorgeous face. But Ao Sun was still a little hesitant. He said in a low voice, "If the murderer really wants to kill us even if we gather together," a Confucian cultivator said impatiently, "we have no enmity with the murderer. At this time we are afraid that we will be killed by the murderer. If we gather together, the chances of us being killed will be much lower." "Yes, yes." Another Confucian cultivator said with a smile, "I am already in a daze at this time. Mr. Moyun is still calm and thoughtful. I will meditate here. The murderer must be afraid of exposing his tracks in front of us." Then the few Confucian cultivators didn't leave. Everyone sat down, either composing poems or painting. Some people even drank wine and sang. They looked very satisfied. However, everyone was a little absent-minded like Ao Moyun, as if they were waiting for something. This time they didn't have to wait for long. In just a few days, a scream came from outside the restriction of the pavilion. "Let's go." Although Ao Moyun was a little surprised, he immediately flew out from behind the jade table and rushed out of the pavilion. Seeing Ao Moyun fly out, the dozen or so Confucian cultivators also followed him out. Ao Zhantian flew out a few steps and was once again impressed. He called Xiaohua, and only then did he follow Xiaohua out. Xiaohua and the others came out of the pavilion. The five-colored clouds had not appeared in the space of Longxing yet. Looking at the left side of the pavilion, there were already several demon clan members flying in the air. These demon clan members' ugly faces carried a trace of horror. Xiaohua and the others flew closer and saw clearly that this was a cave inside a hill. The restriction outside the cave had been torn apart long ago, and the hard mountain rocks had also been destroyed. Half of 100 Zhonglong monster peeked out from the broken rocks. Its head was badly mutilated and it was impossible to tell what kind of monster it was. However, looking at the dragon scales on its body and the claws that were deeply embedded in the mountain rocks, everyone knew that this monster was tyrannical. "This is Qiuyu?" Xiaohua looked at this monster that looked like a wild bull and knew that it was the bloodline of Qiuyu, the son of the dragon. He asked probingly. Ao Moyun bit his lips, and a strange look flashed in his eyes. He then nodded and said, "Yes, this is Qiuyu. But his strength is only at the upper 5th grade of essence power. He hasn't fully matured yet." Roar. At this time, the roar of Lord Dragon Envoy came from afar. Layers of clouds surged over like a tide. A huge dragon claw peeked out from the clouds and grabbed Qiuyu's corpse. Then it disappeared again. "Shall we go over?" Ao Sun looked at Ao Moyun and asked in a low voice. Ao Moyun shook his head slightly and said with a wry smile, "Since we already know, why should we go over and take a look? Now that the interval between killing is getting shorter and shorter, they must want to take advantage of the time before Longxing arrives at Dragon Island to kill all the humans and monsters they want to kill." "They?" Xiaohua was slightly taken aback. He looked at Ao Moyun with some puzzlement. At the same time, a few Confucian cultivators noticed Ao Moyun's words. They looked at each other and said, "Shall we go back and talk about it?" Then Ao Moyun ordered a few Confucian cultivators to go and explore, and the others returned to the pavilion. Ao Moyun originally wanted to activate the restriction, but after looking at the restriction of the pavilion and thinking about the restriction of the cave, Ao Moyun sighed slightly and simply threw the token on the jade table. "Why did Mr. Moyun say, 'they'? Isn't it just a few monsters?" A Confucian cultivator asked curiously, "Why can't I see any clues?" Ao Moyun was a little absent-minded. He glanced at the crowd and said with a smile, "I don't know, it's just a wild guess." "No way." The Confucian cultivator pretended to be exaggerated. "Is there anything in this world that Mr. Moyun can't predict?" "Alas, of course." Ao Moyun sighed, "In this world, except for the immortal emperor who can search the whole continent. Even the immortal emperor can't know the movements of the whole hidden immortal continent." "Maybe," Ao Moyun guessed, "just as Mr. Moyun said, these are a few monsters. The strong ones went to attack His Majesty and the others, and the weak ones went to attack Qiuyu and the humans. If there are really a few of them, no wonder Lord Dragon Envoy couldn't find them." Ao Zhantian nodded slightly, but then he asked curiously, "But even if we know how many of them there are, what is their purpose?" "Who knows?" A Confucian cultivator shrugged. There are many inexplicable things in this world. Who knows what the reason is? But if there are too many of them. Ao Sun looked at the unactivated restriction and said in a low voice, even if we gather together, I'm afraid we won't be able to resist them. If we gather together, we'll be able to take care of each other. Ao Zhantian said hurriedly. Oh no, oh no. Just when everyone didn't know what to say, a voice came from outside the pavilion. Everyone was shocked and looked up, only to see a few Confucian cultivators who had just gone to gather information hurriedly flying back. One of them looked so flustered that he couldn't help but cry out before he reached the pavilion. What's wrong? Ao Moyun frowned slightly, looking a little displeased. Mr. Moyun. The Confucian cultivator said hurriedly, this time besides Chiu, Liang Yong was also killed. Especially. Before the Confucian cultivator could finish, another Confucian cultivator beside him rushed to say, Ao Feng of the Qing province was also killed in his own pavilion along with a dozen or so humans. Not only were Ao Moyun and the other Confucian cultivators dumbfounded, even Xiaohua was shocked. If that was the case, then this trip to the Dragon Island was not a rewarding trip, but a frightening one. Is that true? Ao Sun couldn't believe his ears and couldn't help but ask. The Confucian cultivator in front of him was still in shock, and he said in a shrill voice, if you don't believe me, you can go and see for yourself. Ao Sun thought for a moment and really did fly out of the pavilion. But in just a few breaths' time, he turned back and shouted as soon as he entered the pavilion, which fellow immortal wants to come with me to take a look? The Dragon Island is very cold right now, and there isn't even a single person in sight. My heart is trembling. Although Ao Sun's strength was not comparable to Ao Moyun's, he was still a Confucian cultivator of the 5th stage origin energy realm. How could he say such cowardly words under normal circumstances? But when he said such words, no one felt that there was anything wrong with it. Even the Confucian cultivator who rushed to say something shrunk his neck and waved his hand. If you want to go, then go. When I turned back just now, I was also scared. I was scared that the mysterious murderer would suddenly appear. Xiaohua thought for a moment and said, I'll go with you. Ao Zhantian hurriedly said, I'll go too. Then the three of them left the pavilion. Just as Ao Sun said, the entire Dragon Island was very cold and desolate, and there seemed to be an indescribable sense of danger everywhere. The three of them flew in the air, and they felt as if there was a pair of eyes peeping at them. Xiaohua was a little confused. He couldn't figure out whether this feeling was real or just a fear that came from the bottom of his heart. The place where the dragon envoy's corpse was now filled with the smell of blood. Other than a few gigantic monster corpses, there were also dozens of human corpses stained with blood. It seemed that the human corpses were even more terrifying than the monster corpses. Their heads were either smashed or their bodies destroyed. Almost none of their corpses were intact. Xiaohua's gaze swept across the corpses, and he couldn't even tell who these corpses belonged to. Sigh. Xiaohua sighed and looked around. Other than the three of them, there wasn't a trace of life in the surroundings. It was completely different from when he first came to the Dragon Island. All the humans and monsters were in a state of panic, afraid that the murderer's claws would fall on their heads. Let's go. Although Ao Sun didn't believe it, he came to check it himself. But when he saw the situation, his heart felt empty, and an indescribable sense of terror filled his heart. He looked around vigilantly and said in a low voice, Let's hurry back while the murderer is still worried. Xiaohua and the other two returned to the loft even faster than when they came. This time no one asked anything. The previous slightly noisy atmosphere was swept away by silence. Everyone sat there, full of thoughts. No one knew what they were thinking. Even Ao Moyun had lost his previous quick-wittedness. His eyebrows were tightly knitted and his eyes were a little dull. Xiaohua still walked to the corner and sat down. He closed his eyes and pondered. Unfortunately, he knew very little and he was confused. After half a day, Ao Moyun coughed, got up and said with a forced smile, Since we can't escape being killed even if we gather together, then there's no need to gather together. If we scatter, we may have a chance to save our lives. Sigh, it's a pity that the dragon envoy who controls the Dragon Island is so irresponsible, treating our lives like grass. What can we do? What can we do? In the eyes of the dragon envoy, we are just bastards who cling to the Dragon Island. Ao Sun's tone was also unkind. Our lives and deaths are not important. What's important is that he wants to bring the Dragon Island back. At that time, no matter who the murderer is, he will be arrested by the Dragon Island. Chapter 3993. How could it be that simple? Ao Moyun sneered, then looked around. His gaze fell on a Confucian cultivator and he said, Yuping, come here. I have something to tell you. The Confucian cultivator called Yuping was stunned. He hurriedly got up and said, What are your orders, Mr. Moyun? This matter is a bit secretive. Follow me to the quiet room to talk. Ao Moyun's figure flashed and walked towards the quiet room. Ao Yuping hesitated for a moment, and then followed him into the quiet room. Then, Ao Moyun activated the restrictive spell of the quiet room. After a while, Ao Yuping walked out of the quiet room with a frown on her face. Su Jing, please come here as well. Ao Moyun didn't follow him out, but his voice was heard. So, a slightly short Confucian cultivator looked at Ao Yuping, then hurriedly got up and entered the quiet room. Just like that, Ao Moyun called 3 more people into the quiet room to talk. After the 5th person walked out, Ao Moyun said to everyone's surprise, Taoist Master Xiao, can I trouble you to come to the quiet room? Xiao Hua opened his eyes and looked at the quiet room in surprise. He had the same expression as the other 5 people, but he still entered the quiet room after thinking for a while. After Ao Moyun activated the restriction, Xiao Hua sat cross-legged in front of Ao Moyun, and asked puzzledly, What advice does Mr. Moyun have? It's not advice. Ao Moyun raised his hand and took out a jade eye from his bosom. He handed it to Xiao Hua and said, I have something to entrust to Taoist Master. Xiao Hua was even more stunned. He didn't take the jade eye and asked, What is this? Could it be that you have entrusted to all the fellow immortals who came in earlier? Everyone else is just a cover. Ao Moyun shook his head slightly. I really want to entrust it to Taoist Master. Then I can't accept it even more. Xiao Hua shook his head and said, I've never met you before and I don't have their dragon bloodline. I'm not worthy of fellow immortals' trust. It's because Taoist Master and I have never met before, and it's also because Taoist Master doesn't have true dragon bloodline that I'm entrusting this to Taoist Master. Could it be, this thing is related to the murder on Longxing? Or the person the murderer is looking for, you? Xiao Hua asked. Judging from the current situation, I can't come to a conclusion. At this point, Ao Moyun no longer concealed anything and said, However, judging from these dead descendants of the dragon clan, it's very likely that I'm the murderer's target. Of course, this item has nothing to do with the murderer. It's just some records about my bloodline that I left behind. It won't cause you any trouble. Fellow immortal, you seem to have some hidden troubles. Xiao Hua's eyes flickered as he asked. Spiritual Master, please keep this jade eye first. Ao Moyun urged. I can't keep you here for too long, Taoist. Once you hear about my death, the restriction within these jade eyes will naturally be removed. You'll know when you take a look at it yourself. Sorry, Xiao Hua waved his hand. This Xiao has never been interested in these mysterious things. If you want to entrust it to someone else, you should entrust it to someone else. Alas, Spiritual Master, you don't understand. Ao Moyun shook his head and transmitted his voice. This item involves the 10 clans of the Dragon Island, and they are all unreliable. Only an outsider like you can be trusted by me. Moreover, I've already heard about Spiritual Master Zhao's good deeds in the blood pool of gods and demons. Even I can't trust Spiritual Master Xiao. Could it be that you want me to trust Ao Zhantian? The 10 clans of the Dragon Island? What does that mean? Xiao Hua's heart trembled and he hurriedly asked. Ao Moyun shook his head slightly, looked around and still transmitted his voice. I can't talk too much about the Dragon Island. If Spiritual Master wants to know what's recorded in these jade eyes then this Xiao can't take it. Xiao Hua stood up and laughed. Fellow immortal, if you entrust this item to this Xiao, you'll be free of your burden. If the murderer comes looking for this item, won't this Xiao be in great danger? Fellow immortal, please remove the restriction. The Xiao is going out. Spiritual Master Xiao. Ao Moyun was anxious and hurriedly stood up and said, This item really won't bring you any disaster. Xiao Hua waved his hand very unreasonably. This Xiao doesn't want to get involved in the internal strife of the Dragon Island, and even more don't want to provoke the 10 clans of the Dragon Island. Mister, you should find someone else. Alas, all right. Seeing Xiao Hua so resolute, Ao Moyun was extremely helpless. He looked at Xiao Hua faintly and removed the restriction. After Xiao Hua left, she opened her mouth. She originally planned to find another Confucian cultivator after Xiao Hua, but after thinking for a while, she lowered her head dispiritedly and followed Xiao Hua out of the quiet room. Everyone. Ao Moyun forced a smile and said, I've already explained some things to the 6 fellow immortals. We'll talk about the rest after we get to the Dragon Island. Alright, since that's the case, Mr. Moyun, you also take care of yourself. The Confucian cultivators all stood up and bid farewell, and there was a hint of, the wind is blowing and the water is cold in their tone. When Xiao Hua followed Ao Zhantian back to the pavilion, Ao Zhantian immediately pulled Xiao Hua and asked, "What did Mr. Moyun say to you?" "Tiske." Xiao Hua waved his hand and said, "What can he say? I thought it was something important and just some gossip. Now that I think about it, it was to cover for one of the 5 people in front of us." He as expected. Ao Zhantian smiled. "If I'm not mistaken, it should be that Ao Yuping. He's usually very close to Mr. Moyun." Xiao Hua looked at Ao Zhantian with an exasperated expression. "You're still guessing at a time like this? You should think about saving your own life first." "Of course." Ao Zhantian looked at the restrictions around him and said with a smile, "These tattered restrictions really can't compare to the spell formations of our Taoist sect. In order to save your own life, shouldn't you show us some of your skills?" "Yes, I don't need you to tell me that," Xiao Hua said as he walked into the silent room. He took out a jade talisman and set up the capital star formation. "Come in, fellow Taoist Ao. With this spell formation we might have a 30% better chance than the others." "Ha, Taoist Master Xiao is really my lucky star," Ao Zhantian said joyfully as he entered the capital star formation. He immediately knew that this was the spell formation of the Black Wind Ridge after scanning it with his divine sense. "You can stay here." Xiao Hua extended a hand and said, "Give me your token from the Dragon Tribe." "You're not going to stay here?" Ao Zhantian was taken aback. "I don't have the bloodline of the Dragon Tribe. What am I afraid of?" Xiao Hua said with a smile, "There's no one in the pavilion. If something happens to the Dragon Tribe we won't know." "Then I'll have to trouble you, Taoist Master Xiao." Ao Zhantian was really grateful to Xiao Hua and handed the token to him. Xiao Hua exited the spell formation and sat behind the jade table. He narrowed his eyes and looked outside the pavilion. He turned the token over and over in his hand as if he was thinking about something. However, it was only for a moment. Xiao Hua waved his hand and put the token away. He then closed his eyes and began to cultivate. Half a day later, the dragon envoy's voice boomed like thunder. "Everyone come out of the restriction. I'd like to see who dares to kill a descendant of the dragon clan under my nose." He. Xiao Hua laughed coldly. This dragon tribe's envoy is finally enlightened. With all the Yao and humans gathered together, the dragon tribe's envoy can borrow the power of the dragon tribe to find the culprit. Even if he can't find the culprit, he should be able to prevent more Yao and humans from being killed. This is probably not the dragon tribe's envoy's idea. It must be a suggestion from some Yao or humans. Thus, Xiao Hua removed the restriction on the pavilion and also the capital star formation. He followed Ao Zhantian out of the pavilion. At this time, the restriction on the dragon tribe was still in place. He couldn't release his origin sense. The entire sky of the dragon tribe was covered in colorful clouds. Although the dragon tribe's envoy didn't reveal himself, there was an unconcealable dragon might leaking out from the roiling clouds. The dragon tribe's envoy and Xiao Hua's idea was relatively ideal. However, the Yao race wasn't humans. Although some of them had transformed into human form, they didn't gather as closely as the humans. Even the humans were in a competitive relationship. When they arrived at the training grounds they might have to fight to the death. Thus they formed small groups and didn't truly gather as one. Xiao Hua and Ao Zhantian were naturally with Ao Moyun and the others. At this time Ao Moyun's face was a little pale. Her eyes were filled with fear as she looked left and right. It was obvious that her heart wasn't calm. Although there were quite a lot of Yao and humans, about 2,000 of them, they looked like a black mass at a glance. However, so many Yao and humans didn't say anything. The entire dragon tribe was as silent as before. "Before the dragon tribe reaches Dragon Island, all of you should wait here." The dragon tribe's envoy's voice came from the clouds. This envoy doesn't believe that anyone would dare. "Oh, damn it. Ah." Before the dragon tribe's envoy could finish speaking, another scream came from afar. Then the dragon tribe's envoy roared angrily from the clouds. The dragon tribe's envoy's huge body swooped down. Its 2 dragon claws landed on the place where the scream came from like lightning. Rumble. A series of loud sounds came. Rocks and other debris in the distance soared into the sky. It seemed that there was a struggle. However, a moment later, the dragon tribe's envoy's angry roar sounded again. "Damn it, damn it, damn it. Run." Seeing that the murderer was so unscrupulous and daring to commit murder in front of the dragon tribe's envoy and so many Yaoan humans, some of the smarter humans already understood that within the dragon tribe, even the dragon tribe's envoy couldn't protect them. If they wanted to survive, they had to rely on themselves. Therefore they shouted unconsciously and flew into the distance. It was as if they would be safe as long as they were far away from this place. Since someone had escaped, the pessimistic mood immediately spread throughout the dragon tribe. The Yaoan humans who had just seen hope scattered again. Everyone ran for their lives. Fellow immortals. Seeing that Ao Moyun and the others were also about to escape, Xiao Hua hurriedly called out, "Follow this Xiao to the pavilion first." Yes. Ao Zhantian also thought of something and urged, "Mr. Moyun, let's go to my pavilion first. The Taoist has some defensive methods." Chapter 3994. What means do you have? Ao Moran was a little surprised and shouted in panic, "Even the dragon envoy can't find the murderer, how can you protect us?" However, Ao Moyun waved his hand calmly and said, "Let's go and take a look. I believe in Taoist Zhao's means." Since Ao Moyun had spoken, although the others wanted to escape, they couldn't escape from Longxing no matter how hard they tried. They simply followed Xiao Hua and flew to Ao Zhantian's pavilion. When they saw Xiao Hua's capital star array, their faces were full of shock. Ao Zhantian said proudly, "This is the capital star array set up by Taoist Xiao. It's the same as the one set up by the Immortal Palace in the Black Wind Ridge. With such a formation, I believe we have a better chance of survival." "O Xiao Hua, Taoist Xiao." Hearing this, Ao Sun slapped his forehead and exclaimed, "I remember now. Are you that Taoist Xiao?" Xiao Hua smiled and said, "Let's not talk so much. Let's enter the array first. Although my array formation can't protect the entire Longxing, it should be able to protect the few of you." "Thank you, Taoist Xiao." Ao Sun, Ao Moran, and the others cupped their hands and hurriedly entered the array. At this time, even if they didn't believe Xiao Hua, they could only treat it as a last resort. After everyone had entered, Ao Moyun stood there without moving a single step. Xiao Hua knew what Ao Moyun was thinking and said in a low voice, "Mr. Moyun, could it be, you don't believe me?" "Yes." Ao Zhantian also said anxiously, "Since you're here, you'd better hide for a while." Ao Moyun smiled and showed a rare relaxed face. He asked, "Taoist Xiao, do you think you can stop that murderer?" Xiao Hua shook his head without thinking. "I don't have that kind of strength." "That's right." Ao Moyun said with a smile, "If I hide inside, I'm afraid it will bring disaster to you. At that time, not only will I not be able to survive, but all of you will also be implicated by me. Since that's the case, why should I go in? Taoist Xiao, thank you for your help. My Ao family really can't repay you. Goodbye." After that, Ao Moyun turned around and left without any reluctance. Ao Zhantian was taken aback. He had never heard Ao Moyun refer to himself as a concubine. Moreover, he hadn't expected Ao Moyun to be so decisive and leave just like that. "Taoist Master." Ao Zhantian looked at Ao Moyun walking out of the pavilion, and asked with a puzzled expression, "What's going on?" "Sai, how would I know? You can go in." Xiao Hua waved his hand and followed Ao Moyun out of the pavilion. Outside the pavilion, it was truly a mess. The bleak atmosphere was even colder than the cold winter. Ao Moyun's originally plump back was particularly striking in this biting cold. Xiao Hua did not give chase, he only stood there and watched from afar. He was rather puzzled. This matter is truly strange, since the murderer has such powerful strength and can even avoid the dragon envoy's primordial thought, then why didn't he make a move earlier? This murderer killed the monster clan and the human clan in front of the dragon envoy without being detected by the dragon envoy. Needless to say, he also used the dragon clan's concealment technique, which is somewhat similar to the dragon clan's secret technique of the heavenly abode river. Also, this Ao Moyun seems to have noticed something, but why didn't she go to the dragon envoy? Besides, this dragon envoy doesn't seem to be afraid of being attacked by the murderer, nor does he care about the lives of these descendants of the dragon clan. His mission seems to be just to bring these descendants of the dragon clan to the dragon island. Does he not care about how many he can bring? In fact, from an unimaginable point of view, maybe this murderer and the dragon envoy are in cahoots? The more Xiao Hua thought about it, the more he frowned. Moreover, the more he thought about it, the more scared he became. His previous detachment from this matter gradually faded. Watching Ao Moyun's figure disappear, Xiao Hua quietly released his soul consciousness and looked around. After confirming that there was nothing strange, he returned to the pavilion. However, he only entered the capital star formation and told everyone that Ao Moyun was unwilling to come, then he sat upright in the pavilion again. Dozens of days later, the entire Longxing was completely shrouded in the horror of the murder. Almost every 10 days, one or more monster clan and human clan would be inexplicably killed, and all the corpses would be placed in one place. At this time, no one from the human clan or the monster clan went to watch the show. Every one of them was trembling in fear and trepidation, worried that they would be found by the cruel murderer. As for what the dragon envoy was doing, Xiaohua did not know. He only instructed the green-robed Xiaohua to control the invisible Yuanying and hide in a corner of the pavilion. He also instructed the scholarly cultivator Xiaohua to prepare his Xiantian True Qi at all times, ready to face the seemingly omnipresent murderer and fight for his own survival. On this day, when Xiaohua slowly withdrew his soul consciousness from outside the pavilion and was about to meditate, his heart suddenly moved. He thought of Ao Moyun's strange behavior. He unconsciously patted his forehead and said with some regret, "Alas, this Xiao is also a little flustered. This Ao Moyun seems to be somewhat familiar with the Dragon Island. Since she knows the 10 clans of the Dragon Island, she must also know the location of the Dragon Cleansing Pool. How could this Xiao forget to ask her?" Thinking of this, Xiaohua stood up and instructed the green-robed Xiaohua. He used the Dragon Clan's concealment technique and stealthily moved towards Ao Moyun. If it was a normal time, Xiaohua would certainly fly over in the air, but at this time Xiaohua did not dare to be careless. He did not ask for speed, only to not leave any trace. When he arrived in front of Ao Moyun's pavilion, it was the same as when Xiaohua and the others left. The pavilion's restriction was not activated at all. It seemed that Ao Moyun had already given up resistance and was waiting for the murderer to arrive. Xiaohua did not dare to act blindly without thinking. He released a wisp of soul consciousness and looked around. Then he quietly urged the wood escape technique to sneak into the pavilion. Before his figure could appear, he heard Ao Moyun's faint but somewhat trembling voice in his ear. "You finally found me?" Xiaohua was greatly alarmed. He didn't know how Ao Moyun had discovered his whereabouts. Almost without thinking, Xiaohua waved his hands and shot out several secret arts. First, he confined the space of several hundred feet around him. Then he transmitted his voice, "Mr. Moyun, this Xiao has come. This Xiao has suddenly thought of a way that can save your life and not implicate the rest of us." "Ah? You are Taoist Master Xiao?" Ao Moyun was naturally shocked. "How do you know the dragon technique of my dragon clan?" Just when Xiaohua had just revealed himself and had yet to answer, a kind of indescribable fear arose in Xiaohua's heart. It was as if a great danger was approaching Xiaohua. Ao Moyun's face was even more pale, and he opened his mouth to urge Xiaohua to flee. Since he had come to this point, how could Xiaohua hesitate? He raised his hand and took out the mountain river seal that he had prepared a long time ago. He transmitted his voice, "Fellow immortal, don't struggle." As he spoke, Xiaohua's mind swept towards Ao Moyun. How could Ao Moyun not know Xiaohua's plan when he saw the mountain river seal? People often say that even ants are greedy for life, let alone Ao Moyun, who had succeeded in cultivation. She immediately gave up resisting, and her figure was immediately taken into the space along with Xiaohua's mind. Xiaohua did not hesitate. He hurriedly withdrew the spell, and his figure flashed and rushed to the side of the pavilion. In this split second, an extremely secretive and powerful origin will was born out of nowhere, and it swept past the place where Ao Moyun's figure had been. A very obscure voice of surprise followed, and then there was a loud bang. An extremely powerful attack fell from the sky and pierced through the entire pavilion. Everything in the pavilion was turned into fragments. "How dare you!" Just when that origin will was still searching, the furious voice of the dragon envoy above the 5-colored clouds sounded like thunder, and a huge dragon claw turned into lightning and grabbed down. Unfortunately, although the dragon claw had imprisoned the space of about 100 feet, when the dragon claw fell, it was still empty. It did not even touch a scale of the murderer. Since it did not find the murderer, the dragon claw waved again in the ruins of the pavilion, but did not find Ao Moyun's corpse. The dragon claw paused for a moment. Obviously, this was the first time it did not see the corpse after the murderer appeared. However, the dragon envoy only hesitated for a moment, and the dragon claw retracted back into the clouds. After the time it took to drink half a cup of tea, some demon race members appeared nearby. These demon race members poked their heads out mournfully, looked at the broken pavilion, shook their heads slightly and went away. In Ao Zhantian's pavilion, Xiaohua's figure appeared. His face was waxy yellow. He sat down cross-legged, took out a jade bottle and poured out a few pills to consume. After the time it took to eat a meal, his face finally became rosy. Damn it. Xiao Hua coughed and cursed in a low voice. This evil creature has the strength of the 7th level of origin power, which is half a level higher than the dragon envoy. I'm afraid he can do whatever he wants in the travel dragon. Who can be his match? I-oh. Just as he finished cursing, Xiao Hua came to a realization. Since he had saved Ao Moyun, then the murderer, whose strength exceeded the other demon race members, would naturally be looking for him again. Ao Zhantian and the others were definitely the targets of the search. If Ao Moyun's guess was correct, then Ao Zhantian and the others were definitely not the murderer's targets. Not only was he not helping them by hiding them in the capital star formation, he was harming them instead. Xiao Hua hurriedly stood up, and with a wave of his hands, he put away the jade talismans of the capital star formation. Ao Zhantian and the others inside the formation were shocked, and hurriedly asked, "Enlightened Master, what are you doing?" Xiao Hua did not have time to explain, and he made up a story. It has been more than 10 days and no demon race members have been killed. I'm afraid that the murderer... Before Xiao Hua could finish his words, a wave of origin power suddenly fell from above everyone's heads, and a dragon's might that could instantly kill everyone swept over. Not good. The group of Confucian cultivators turned pale with fright, and Xiao Hua was also shocked. He rubbed his hands together, and a bolt of lightning appeared out of thin air, striking toward the top of the pavilion. Chapter 3995. It was exactly the same as the voice Xiao Hua heard from Ao Moyun. However, as soon as this voice appeared, it immediately disappeared along with the dragon's aura, as if nothing had happened just now. Xiao Hua's lightning surged out and hit the pavilion, completely destroying the roof of the pavilion, revealing the colorful clouds outside the pavilion. This. The group of Confucian cultivators were somewhat in disbelief. This life and death situation appeared too suddenly and left even more abruptly. As strong as they were, the murderer had already disappeared with the wind by the time they raised their chi. They almost didn't dare to believe their eyes. Roar. Similarly, as soon as the murderer left, the dragon envoy's roar sounded again, but this roar was like rolling thunder that gradually faded away. After a full half cup of tea's time, Ao Zhantian asked in a trembling voice, "Taoist, just now, did a dragon senior appear?" "Yes." Xiao Hua withdrew his invisible nascent soul, suppressed the surprise in his heart, and answered indifferently. Ao Sun also asked, "Since he left, then, we are not the ones he wants to kill?" "Should be." Xiao Hua turned around and looked at these Confucian cultivators, then walked towards the quiet room. "So, we don't have to be afraid of being killed by him?" Ao Moran asked again timidly, just like a little student asking a professor a question. Xiao Hua also answered, "There should be no need to be afraid. However, don't leave here, just stay here. Since he came once, he probably won't come again. Zhantian has some spirit fruits and spirit wine, enjoy them slowly, but don't show too much, just wait for the dragon to come ashore." Okay. Happiness came too suddenly. Ao Chiron and the others didn't know how to answer, only trembling and saying a few words. All of them fell to the left side of the jade table. Logically speaking, they were all grandmasters around the 5th level of elemental energy. Even if they were facing a mortal enemy and in the face of death, they wouldn't have lost their composure. However, in this kind of torturous atmosphere they had been tormented for several months. Every time they thought that they could lose their lives at any time, this kind of fear was eroding their ambition. At this moment, their state of mind was clearly different from the Tao realm of Xiao Hua and the other Taoist cultivators. When they were relaxed, when they had escaped from the calamity, it was inevitable that some instinctive actions would appear. Xiao Hua entered the quiet room and didn't activate any restrictions. Instead, he simply sat down cross-legged and began to meditate. Within the pavilion, Ao Zhantian and the others rested for a moment before taking out some spirit fruits to consume. However, they didn't relax like Xiao Hua. Instead, they all began to cultivate. More than a few months passed in the blink of an eye. The rhythm of the invisible murderer's attacks began to slow down. In the end, it finally calmed down. The nervousness of being in a state of panic also slowly disappeared. It was as if the murderer's targets were all dead. The murderer no longer appeared. The remaining demon clan and human clan seemed to have escaped from the sky and gradually began to become active. A total of 47 demons and 13 humans died in the hands of the murderer, making a total of 60. The strength of these dead bodies was also uneven. Most of them were at the middle of the 5th grade and were not the demonic beast experts that Enchanting and the others had imagined. It was also because of this that most of the demons and humans didn't know why the murderer's target was the deceased. This seemed to be an unsolvable mystery. However, all of the demons and humans, including the Dragon Island emissary who controlled the Dragon Island, believed that there would be a day when the truth would be revealed. And that day would be the day when the Dragon Island neared the Dragon Island. The Dragon Island silently traversed the seabed. In the dark green seawater, one couldn't see the exact shape of the Dragon Island. One could only see a flash of brilliance before it disappeared into the sea. The flowing light arrived at a very ordinary part of the sea. The flowing light abruptly stopped and a droplet of water that was thousands of feet in size appeared in the sea. In an instant, all of the fish in the sea were frightened and frantically swam away. The Dragon Island only stopped for a few breaths. A strange wave of energy spread out from the Dragon Island. Then, the Dragon Island began to move along with the energy wave. In the beginning, the Dragon Island moved extremely slowly. However, it gradually sped up. In the time it took to eat a meal, the Dragon Island became a flowing light again. However, this time the flowing light was different from before. A spiral ripple formed at the tip of the Dragon Island. As the flowing light formed, it rapidly spread out to the outer layer of the Dragon Island. What was special was that as the spiral ripple swept across, the color of the flowing light became even fainter. Gradually, the flowing light couldn't be seen clearly. The moment the flowing light became completely transparent, the flowing light seemed to have stopped. The entire flowing light rushed towards an invisible droplet of water in the sea. There was no fluctuation, no barrier. The flowing light shrunk little by little. Finally, it fell into the millions of droplets of seawater. Those who didn't understand the mysteries of the Dragon Island would never have thought that the famous Dragon Island was actually inside a droplet of water. This droplet was in an unknown part of the sea. It was like looking for a needle in a haystack. Who could find it? The demons and humans inside the Dragon Island couldn't see through the Dragon Island. Naturally, they couldn't know that they were already inside a droplet of water. At this moment, Xiaohua was meditating with his eyes closed. Suddenly he heard a rip sound. The entire Dragon Island seemed to have been torn apart. Torrential seawater fell from the sky. All the pavilions, rocks, quagmires, and so on inside the Dragon Island disappeared in the seawater. Xiaohua and the others were startled. They hastily raised their heads to look. They only saw a huge continent in the sea that they couldn't see the end of. This entire continent was similar to the soul cultivator's remnant Xiaohua saw in the Forbidden Spring Ocean. It was completely submerged in the seawater. On this continent there were mountain ranges, plains, hills. There were fishes, seaweed in the seawater. And at this moment, at the edge of the continent, there were some grooves that looked like the shape of a turtle. Above each groove there was a several thousand zhang, 33 m per zhang, transparent crystal cover. Some of the crystal covers had floating dragon generals. Some of the crystal covers were empty. There were no dragon generals guarding them. See, this is the Dragon Island? Xiao Hua sucked in a mouthful of cold air. He couldn't help but be shocked. Damn it, this Xiao always thought that the Dragon Island was somewhere in the four seas. It was an island. But I really didn't expect. This Dragon Island was actually at the bottom of the sea. Of course, the dragon tribe was originally a water tribe. How could they live without water? They naturally thought that the Dragon Island was an island in the eyes of the human tribe. That was because they didn't break away from the human tribe's thinking. They thought that the dragon tribe also lived in the air like the human tribe. In fact, in the eyes of the dragon tribe, isn't the seawater air in the eyes of the human tribe? It would be strange if the Dragon Island was really an island. Thinking of this, Xiao Hua hastily raised his hand and took out the mountain river seal. His mind shook and he pulled Ao Moyun out of the space. At this moment, not only was Xiao Hua surprised, Ao Zhantian and the others were also surprised. No one had noticed Ao Moyun's quiet appearance. She then looked at Ao Moyun again. Ao Moyun had suddenly appeared inside the traveling dragon's den, and the Dragon Island's strange phenomenon caught her eye. How could she not know that Xiao Hua had safely delivered her to the Dragon Island? She only nodded slightly at Xiao Hua and didn't say a word. Xiao Hua smiled. This kind of woman who was so calm could really be the commander of an army. In the traveling Dragon Island, most of the survivors of the human tribe and the demon tribe were surprised. When they came to their senses and were about to use the escape technique to leave the traveling Dragon Island, they suddenly found that they couldn't even move their bodies. Whoosh! A gorgeous dragon pattern appeared from the crystal cover and fell on top of everyone's head. Then, the dragon envoy who controlled the traveling Dragon Island strangely appeared out of thin air. He opened his mouth and spat out the same dragon pattern to meet the gorgeous dragon pattern. Swish! The moment the two dragon patterns merged, a cluster of colorful light emerged from the dragon pattern and covered the dragon envoy. The dragon envoy's body shrank rapidly, turning into the size of the dragon pattern, and disappeared into the dragon pattern. Then the dragon pattern rushed to the crystal cover. As soon as it came into contact, the entire crystal cover was instantly dyed blood red. Roar! A huge dragon roar passed through the heavy seawater and fell into the crystal cover. Xiao Hua and the others felt their blood tremble. Several ochre-yellow dragons that were 3 times bigger than the dragon envoy flew over from the other crystal covers and surrounded the blood-red crystal cover. Xiao Hua and the others understood that this must be the signal sent by the dragon envoy. These dragons must have come to arrest the brutal murderer in the traveling Dragon Island. Sure enough, the dragon pattern passed through the crystal cover. The dragon envoy revealed his body from the dragon pattern and said something to the 3 dragons. The dragon's body twisted in the seawater and immediately disappeared. The 3 dragons shook their bodies and opened their mouths. 3 dragon pearls flew out. These 3 dragon pearls gave off 3 different kinds of luster. They mixed in the seawater and turned into a huge net that completely covered the groove where the crystal cover was. Other than the eyes, no one's Yuan Shen could detect it. In just a moment, a few more dragons came from the mountain range in the distance. The dragon in front had a golden crown on its dragon horn. This dragon flew to the top of everyone's head and opened its mouth. A dragon breath as vast as the sea of smoke rolled and covered the groove. Within this dragon breath, the previous 3 dragon pearls' brilliance faded and slowly flew away. You can open it now. The dragon commanded very majestically. Yes, General. The 3 dragons responded. The 3 dragon pearls gave off 3 different rhythmic fluctuations. The fluctuations entangled together and fell towards the crystal cover. Once the crystal cover came into contact with the fluctuations, it immediately melted like ice water touching a raging fire. Xiao Hua and the others felt the previous imprisonment slowly disappear. Then he looked at the 9 dragons that had just arrived with Long Jiang. They immediately arranged themselves into a profound formation, surrounding all the humans and demons in the middle. That dizzying dragon breath rushed over. Even someone as strong as Xiao Hua couldn't help but tremble. He couldn't help but groan in his heart, damn it, how can we live like this? Just 9 random soldiers have the strength of upper 6th grade essence energy. This dragon general is probably intermediate 7th grade essence energy, right? Chapter 3996. Hold on. Come out one by one. Under the dragon's might, everyone's body and mind felt extremely heavy. The giant dragon's order was like a god's voice echoing in their hearts. The humans and demons did not dare to dawdle. They walked out one by one according to the order of the grooves. Every time a human or demon walked out of the grooves, an inexplicable wave would sweep across his body. However, even after all the humans and demons had left the crystal barrier, the giant dragon did not discover anything. Strange. The giant dragon muttered. He looked into the grooves again. At this moment, the grooves were empty. There was nothing but discarded corpses. Whoosh. At this moment, a watery light flashed. The dragon envoy flew over and asked anxiously, "General, did you discover anything?" "No." The giant dragon replied. "I've carefully checked the dragon line. There is no murderer like you said. This bastard must have used some kind of concealment technique to hide," the dragon envoy said through gritted teeth. "And this concealment technique is especially powerful. I can't find him even with the help of the dragon line. Since the concealment technique is so powerful, could he have escaped first and not followed the dragon line into Dragon Island?" the giant dragon asked. The dragon envoy shook his head. "That's impossible. Although I can't use the dragon line to find this bastard, I still control the dragon line. However, I am still in control of the traveling dragon. I can still prevent him from escaping from the traveling dragon. He must be inside the dragon line. That's strange. Don't tell me he can escape from my dragon breath?" The giant dragon frowned. He thought for a moment, then ordered, "Take out these corpses and seal the dragon line. I'll send the dragon line to Fourth Elder. I'd like to see what kind of concealment technique this is." "Yes." The dragon soldiers obeyed the order. With a wave of their dragon claws, all the corpses were thrown to one side of the crystal barrier. Then, as several dragon pearls flashed, the multicolored dragon pattern appeared again and landed on the crystal barrier. The dragon rune penetrated the crystal barrier and produced a rumbling sound. Then, another dark green water droplet was born from the crystal barrier. After the dragon formation was sealed, the dragon general raised his dragon claw and made a grabbing motion in the air. The crystal shield flew out from the groove, and the dragon formation shrunk to a size of 1,000 feet and fell into the dragon general's claw. Then, without even looking at the dragon descendants, the dragon general's body emitted a watery light and was about to flee. As for the other 9 dragon soldiers, they also moved their dragon bodies at the same time, preparing to escape with the dragon general. At this moment, Xiaohua, who was standing on the dragon island, was suddenly startled. His gaze fell on the corpse in the distance and he seemed to have thought of something. Without waiting for Xiaohua to speak, Ao Moyun at the side shouted loudly, "My lord, take a look at those corpses first. Who knows if there's a murderer who faked his death?" "How is that possible?" When they saw Ao Moyun's strange appearance, Ao Zhantian and the others were all surprised. However, none of them dared to ask too much. Now that Ao Moyun reminded them, everyone came to a realization and looked at those corpses in unison. Roar. Before everyone's gaze fell, 3 beastly roars came from the corpses. The dragon python Di Dicky and Jing Hong, who were the first to be killed, suddenly rushed out of the corpses. Their bodies flashed with watery light, and they fled toward the dragon island in a panic. Roar. The dragon envoy who was in charge of the dragon formation was furious. He really didn't expect that the murderers who had caused so much bloodshed in the dragon formation in the past few months were actually the 3 demon clans who were killed first. He had painstakingly monitored the entire dragon formation and paid attention to the movements of the other living humans and demon clans at all times. However, he just so happened to miss the location of the discarded corpses. No wonder he couldn't find the murderers no matter how hard he tried. Enraged, the dragon envoy was about to give chase. However, the dragon general was twice as fast as him. Just as the dragon envoy's body swayed, the dragon general's body had already stirred up the water and disappeared. Then a series of thunderclaps came from the mountain range in the distance. A layer of huge waves surged out of the calm sea. Along with these huge waves, 3 extremely disheveled demon clans appeared. Just as the dragon python revealed itself, the bloody light around its body flourished. Dragon chi gushed out from this bloody light. The bloody light mixed with the dragon chi and actually condensed into a huge dragon that was comparable to the dragon general. Roar. The dragon python roared loudly. A dragon claw slashed through the water and through space, striking the dragon general who was pouncing toward it. The dragon general seemed to be caught off guard. His whole body was hit by the dragon claw and fell to the ground with a loud boom sound. But in an instant, the dragon general's dragon tail flashed in the sea and smashed on the dragon python's head with a bang sound. The dragon python's body rolled a few times in the water. Once again it flashed and escaped towards a mountain range. Looking at Di Dicky and Jing Hong, their bodies were even more agile. Before the dragon envoy and the 9 dragon soldiers could catch up, they had already escaped in 2 other directions. It was obvious that this was a plan that the 3 demon clans had long discussed. Whoa! Dragon chi gushed out from the dragon envoy and the 9 dragon soldiers. 10 dragon pearls shot out. Small whirlpools appeared in the water thousands of feet around them. Wisps of pure water elemental energy surged towards the dragon pearls. The 10 dragon pearls grew to several feet in size. They split into 3 groups and chased after the 3 demon clans. GGG. Looking at the 3 demon clans escaping, the dragon general who was supposed to be the most capable of capturing them didn't use his escape technique. Instead, he stirred up dragon chi in the water. Streaks of dragon patterns surged towards his horns. When he opened his dragon mouth, a series of inexplicable dragon language came out of his mouth. Once the dragon language appeared, the water elemental energy within 100 miles of him immediately disappeared. It rushed into the dragon language at an unbelievable speed. Then the dragon language brought about layers of light and shadows. The sound of huge waves rushed in the direction of the 3 demon clans escaping. Xiaohua didn't know what others felt, but as a Taoist cultivator, even though he was at the bottom of the sea, he was extremely sensitive to the changes in the water elemental energy. Previously, when the dragon pearls stirred up the water elemental energy, his heart was only moved. But when this dragon general actually chanted the dragon language and stirred up the water elemental energy, how could he not be shocked? Don't all demon clans cultivate the power of the moon and stars? This dragon general, how could he stir up the water elemental energy? Moreover, why is his dragon language so similar to the Green Seal script? No, it should be said that this dragon language is extremely similar to my Taoist cultivation technique. Xiaohua thought. When he looked at the place where Long Yu disappeared, the seawater within a few hundred li radius had been confined. This confinement power was really too strong, even the void was covered. Long Mang and the other 2 demonic beast experts who possessed 7th grade essence power exerted all their strength to twist their bodies. Although the confinement within 1,000 zhang radius was broken by them, the seawater within a few hundred li radius was like a cage that firmly locked them in place. Roar! The dragon general let out a dragon roar that shook the wilderness. This dragon roar was abnormally clear in the seawater. Following the dragon roar, the dragon general opened his mouth and a dragon shell fell into the water. The dragon general's claws continuously grabbed at the void, and the 3 demon clan experts who were not inferior to him, Long Mang Di Dicky, and Jing Hong were captured by him into the dragon shell. They were almost powerless to resist. Alright. As the dragon general kept the dragon shell, the imprisonment within several hundred li of the seawater disappeared again. The dragon general ordered, carefully search these descendants of my clan. This general is going to the Star Brilliance Palace Hall to meet the 4th elder and report this matter to him. All of you be careful. Don't let any unforeseen events occur. Yes, General. The 9 dragon soldiers at the side answered and respectfully sent the dragon general off. Xiaohua looked at the scene in front of him with a dumbfounded expression. He didn't expect that the dragon general of the Dragon Island would give him a vivid lesson as soon as he set foot on the Dragon Island. He saw a secret of heaven and earth that he couldn't even dream of. Mr. Moyun. Xiaohua looked at the dragon envoy flying over with the 9 dragon soldiers and whispered to Ao Moyun through voice transmission. Did you see that? Ao Moyun asked curiously, see what? That dragon general just used? What kind of magic art? Xiaohua didn't know how to explain the doubts in his heart. After all, this was the magic art of the Taoism cultivators. He originally wanted to ask Ao Zhantian, but looking at Ao Zhantian's dumbfounded expression, he probably didn't know as much as Ao Moyun. Ao Moyun pursed his lips and smiled. This dragon general didn't use a magic art. Instead, it was the heavenly dragon technique unique to the Dragon Island. Heavenly dragon technique? Xiaohua was puzzled. This heavenly dragon technique. Why does it activate the spiritual energy of heaven and earth of our Taoism? This concubine doesn't know. Ao Moyun shrugged charmingly and said with a smile, this is the secret art of the Dragon Island. Not to mention that we descendants of the dragon blood don't know, even the ordinary dragon generals of the dragon race of the 4 seas can't learn it. At this point Ao Moyun rolled her eyes again and said, there are some vague records in this concubine's jade eyes, but if you don't want, give it to me. Xiaohua stretched out his hand unceremoniously and said, at that time, this Xiao was afraid that you would give up on yourself. Now this Xiao obviously wants it. Hehe, even if you want it now, this concubine doesn't want to give it to you. Ao Moyun laughed and looked at Xiao Hua with a smile. Xiao Hua curled his lips and glanced at Ao Moyun and said, ungrateful. Hehe. Ao Moyun couldn't help laughing. She really didn't expect that Xiao Hua, who had such a high cultivation, would occasionally have such a cute side. How was this the usual high and mighty attitude of a Confucian cultivator? Amidst her laughter, Ao Moyun took out the jade eyes and quietly gave it to Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua also unceremoniously took it and sent it into the space. At this time, 10 huge dragons flew over. In addition to the 3 dragons that were patrolling earlier, there were already 13 huge dragons surrounding the nearly 2,000 dragon blood descendants. Cough cough. The dragon envoy withdrew his dragon body and turned into 100 feet in size. Standing in the sea in front of everyone, he coughed and said, everyone, although the 3 damn things, Dragon Python, D. Dicky and Jinghong, have been sent to the Star Brilliance Palace Hall, General Longshow is right. Who knows if there are any accomplices among you? Now, before we go to the Dragon Island, we need to carefully check again. Chapter 3997. In the face of 13 genuine dragons, how could these descendants of the dragon clan dare to refute anything? They didn't even dare to utter half a word. Subsequently, the 10 dragons took out 10 identical dragon weapons from their chests. After spitting out dragon's breath, they transformed into 10 passageways that were tens of meters tall and hundreds of meters long and placed in front of the demon clan and human clan. You'll be divided into 10 groups. Report your origins and what kind of selection you've gone through. As the dragon envoy spoke, he took out another dragon scale from his chest and rubbed the dragon claws into 10 portions, which fell into the claws of the 10 dragons. Subsequently, the demon clan and human clan lined up into 10 groups according to the dragon envoy's request. They accepted the inspection of the dragon soldiers in an orderly manner and entered the passageways. The passageways seemed to be connected to other places. The demon clan that entered the passageways didn't appear at the other end. Roar. Just as hundreds of demon clan were inspected, a faint dragon's roar came from afar. A golden cloud carried a golden little dragon and flew over from afar. Before the little dragon came close, its indescribable dragons might had already approached. All the human clan and demon clan who had the dragon clan's bloodline couldn't help but tremble in their hearts. Little clan elder. When the 3 dragon soldiers who were eyeing covetously saw the little dragon flying over, they hurriedly urged their bodies to welcome it. They said respectfully, why are you here, elder? Why can't I be here? The little dragon smiled with its mouth wide open. There seemed to be some bubbles in its nostrils which seemed to be snot. What are you doing? Little clan elder. A dragon soldier replied, these are the descendants outside the Dragon Island for this training. Because there was a killing incident in the dragon travel, General Longshow ordered us to inspect again. Damn it. When the little dragon heard this, he was a little angry. Just a training. You kill me and I kill you. Our dragon clan has few descendants to begin with. Won't more of them die in this way? I really can't see the stingy faces of these dragon clan. Yes. Little clan elder is right. Another dragon soldier said respectfully, otherwise, the 4th elder of the Star Brilliance Palace Hall would be especially angry and specially arranged 10 generals to thoroughly investigate this matter to prevent any more mishaps in the stacked Jade Legacy realm. What? Hearing this, the little dragon suddenly became furious. The golden light around its body shone brightly. Its pair of dragon eyes looked at the thousands of demons and humans and shouted, They actually want to enter the stacked Jade Legacy realm? What qualifications do they have to enter with me? Obviously, the 3 dragon soldiers were also shocked by Xiaolong's dragon might, and they hurriedly shouted, Junior Elder, quickly withdraw your dragon might, we can't take it anymore. The other dragon blood descendants can't stand it either. If you can't even endure this, how can you enter the stacking Jade Legacy realm? Xiaolong coldly snorted and arrogantly withdrew his dragon's might. Looking at the rapidly changing emotions, Xiaolong was like a young child. One of the dragon soldiers smiled apologetically and said, Little elder, you've misunderstood. I'm not saying that these descendants can all enter. It's just that this year the stacked Jadeite Legacy realm is finally opened, and it just so happens that the dragon blood descendants are training. Therefore, the 9 elders have a discussion, including the dragon clan of the 4 seas, and are preparing to select some dragons and dragon blood descendants to see whose bloodline is purer, so that they can accompany the Little Elder and the other true dragons of the Dragon Island into the stacked Jadeite Legacy realm. I was wondering. Xiaolong's mood seemed to be better. He nodded and said, in the past there were only 10,000 or so for the training. This time there are actually 100,000. So this is the plan. Forget it, you go on your official business, I'll play here for a while. You don't have to pay attention to me. Yes, Junior Elder. The 3 dragon soldiers let out a long sigh of relief. They respectfully saluted and retreated. And that Xiaolong flew to a groove not far away and actually started to play. He flew from one groove to another groove and swam back and forth inside. Seemed to be very interested. Seeing this Xiaolong like this, Xiaohua couldn't help but laugh. He already somewhat understood this Xiaolong might not be that old, but because of the pureness of his bloodline, he was born with the divine ability of the dragon clan. Just like Wu Qing and Xiang Zhili when he was in the Xiaoyu continent, they were born with an easier cultivation compared to other children. When he thought of the 2 outstanding juniors, Xiaohua couldn't help but think of Xiang Yang, Yan Qinglian, Zhuo Minghui and Hong Xiaoferi. Who are you? Where are you training? A cold voice awakened Xiaohua from his memories. Xiaohua came back to his senses and looked up. A dragon soldier was holding a dragon scale in his hand, coldly looking at him. In front of him was a pitch-black tunnel. Oh, I am Xiaohua Ao Zhantian's guard. Xiaohua said casually, and slightly moved his body to the side, allowing Ao Zhantian behind him to walk over. However, Ao Zhantian didn't walk over as Xiaohua expected. Instead, he stood behind Xiaohua with some hesitation. Seeing Ao Zhantian like this, Xiaohua's heart jumped, and he thought to himself, could it be that Ao Zhantian wants to go back on his word? Damn it, if I had known this, I wouldn't have said so much to him before. If he refuses now, then wouldn't I become the dragon python's accomplice? Of course he can calmly train, but Xiaohua's gaze hurriedly looked behind Ao Zhantian. Unfortunately, he and Ao Zhantian were behind Ao Moyun and the others. At this time Ao Moyun and the others had already entered the tunnel. Ao Zhantian seemed to be struggling with his thoughts, and he was still hesitating. The dragon soldier had already sensed that something was wrong. Under the dragon's might, he firmly restrained Xiaohua and said coldly, you are Ao Zhantian's guard, how can you walk in front of your master? Lord? Ao Zhantian said indifferently, this fellow Taoist is my guard, his name is Xiaohua. I have already reported to the North Sea Dragon Palace at the beginning of the training. However, the dragon strategy doesn't allow the guard's name to be recorded, so Lord didn't see it. Phew. Xiaohua let out a sigh of relief and glared at Ao Zhantian. Ao Zhantian also smiled apologetically at Xiaohua. He had already decided to bring Xiaohua to the Dragon Island when he was with Long Xing. However, after witnessing Long Xing's massacre and hearing the dragon language spoken by the junior elder of the Dragon Island, he knew that this place was no small matter. He couldn't help but be worried that Xiaohua would get into trouble on the Dragon Island. Fortunately, after a moment of internal conflict, Ao Zhantian made a decision that was beneficial to Xiaohua. You come over first. The dragon soldier coldly waved his claw and said, how can a human be in front of a descendant of the dragon tribe? Yes, Lord. Ao Zhantian hurriedly walked forward and said respectfully, I am Ao Zhantian. After Ao Zhantian finished explaining his origins, the dragon soldier examined the dragon scales carefully. Then he turned the dragon pearl suspended above the passageway and examined Ao Zhantian's physical body. Then he waved his hand and said, go in. Yes, Lord. Ao Zhantian bowed respectfully and walked to the tunnel. He turned to look at Xiaohua and asked, where is my guard? If it's normal, there's naturally no need to investigate. The dragon soldier coldly said, but today is not normal, your guard will have to report his background. All right. I will do as you say. Ao Zhantian looked at Xiaohua with a heavy gaze and even a little apologetic. Xiaohua smiled and said, fellow Taoist, go in. Today is your training, I hope you will have good results. Thank you, fellow Taoist. Ao Zhantian didn't know what to say at this time. He was also a powerful Taoist nascent soul cultivator on the hidden immortal continent, but here he was just a small character. He had already helped Xiaohua as much as he could. What is your name? Where are you from? The dragon soldier asked again, where is your sect? How do you know Ao Zhantian? Xiaohua thought for a moment, and regretted that he didn't change his appearance, so he simply answered, I am Taoist sect Xiaohua from Yu Province's Black Wind Mountain. Xiaohua. The dragon soldier muttered and looked inside the dragon scales, but didn't find anything. Then he took out another thumb-sized pearl and probed it with his origin sense. After a moment his eyes lit up and he shouted, You are Black Wind Mountain Xiaohua Taoist Master Xiaohua? Sigh. Xiaohua sighed in his heart, but a proud expression appeared on his face. After all, his reputation had spread to the Dragon Island, and this was enough for him to be proud. That's right, I am Taoist Sex Xiaohua Taoist Master Xiao. Xiaohua replied. Long Bing waved his dragon claws without hesitation and said, Xiaohua, you have a grudge with the Immortal Palace. The Immortal Palace's true Lord Qingyuan was ordered to exterminate the Black Wind Mountain. Although you defeated true Lord Qingyuan, the Immortal Palace hasn't issued any other orders, but if you set foot on the Dragon Island, you will definitely attract the attention of the Dragon Island and the Immortal Palace. Before he finished speaking, the little dragon that was playing in the distance seemed to have found something fun. With a "so" sound, it instantly disappeared from the groove, and appeared beside the dragon soldier. The little dragon leaned on the dragon soldier and pushed him away. The big bubble in its nose popped with a pop sound. It stared at Xiaohua with interest and asked, You are that Xiaohua who swallowed 100,000 immortal soldiers? How did you eat? I see that your stomach isn't big. Didn't you humans want to eat grains? When did you start eating human flesh? Xiaohua rolled his eyes and looked at the little dragon with a smile and said, Sigh, it's a long story. Actually, it's not that my Black Wind Mountain provoked the Immortal Palace, it's just that when I was passing by the Black Wind Mountain that day, I just happened to meet a beautiful girl. Oh, could it be the 9th princess of the Immortal Palace? The little dragon blinked its eyes, and a strange light appeared in its eyes as it asked curiously. Of course not. Xiaohua shook his head and said, This girl is a girl of the mortal world's royal family, but she has a blood feud. Xiaohua controlled his temper and slowly told the story of Yuanya and Diawu to the little dragon word by word. Some of the details were even vividly described by Xiaohua, causing the little dragon to be intoxicated. Looking at the dragon soldier that was pushed away by the little dragon, it looked at the little dragon helplessly, and then at Xiaohua who had succeeded in his scheme. It waved its dragon claws and ordered the monsters behind Xiaohua to go somewhere else. Chapter 3998. After Xiaohua finished his story, Xiaolong's eyes flashed with anger as he shouted, Since ancient times, it said that beauties are the source of trouble. This Diawu. No, she doesn't deserve the name Diawu. This hateful princess actually ignored Yuanya and was loyal to him. She really deserves to die. True monarch Qingyuan did a good thing by destroying their country. However, it's a pity for your Black Wind Mountain. Actually, not every woman is so hateful. Xiaohua said with a smile, This Xiao has a disciple named Chang Yuan. She has always been loyal to love, and after several lifetimes she finally got married to her lover? Ah? There's such an amazing woman? Xiaolong's eyes lit up as he hurriedly shouted, Hurry up and tell me. This? Xiaohua said awkwardly, It's not convenient for me to tell you here, right? What? Xiaolong was curious. However, when he looked around he immediately understood. The previous 10 passages had already been closed. The 12 dragon soldiers and the dragon envoy stood around helplessly, waiting for Xiaohua to finish his story. Let's go, follow me back to the palace. Xiaolong replied decisively, Tell me your disciple's story. That's not very good. Xiaohua shook his head, I offended the Immortal Palace. Now that I've set foot on Dragon Island, I'm afraid I'll bring trouble to Dragon Island. Trouble my ass. Xiaolong sneered, The Immortal Palace didn't issue an immortal decree to arrest you. You also have the bloodline of my dragon race. Little elder. A dragon soldier hurriedly said, Xiaohua is not a descendant of my dragon race. If he isn't, then he isn't. Xiaolong tilted his head and said, Xiaohua is my good friend. Today I invited him to Dragon Island for a chat. Even the great elder wouldn't object, right? Little elder. The dragon envoy hurriedly advised, Even if we're not afraid of the Immortal Palace and let Xiaohua enter Dragon Island, he's still Xiaohua's bodyguard. However, he was Ao Zhantian's bodyguard, so according to the dragon laws, he wasn't allowed to go anywhere on the Dragon Island before he was selected by the Dragon Chi. Moreover, Little Elder's palace is a secret place of my dragon race. You can't go there either. If you're willing, after the Dragon Chi selection, you can go to Ao Zhantian's training grounds and listen to Xiaohua's stories. What bullshit. Xiaolong was furious, but after cursing a few times he felt that it was inappropriate, so he changed his words. This dragon law is too strange. Why is it so troublesome for me to invite an old friend? That's not the problem. The dragon envoy hurriedly replied, Xiaohua is currently training, so he must first be selected by the dragon Qi. Of course he's just a guard, so he doesn't have any dragon bloodline. This is merely a process of the dragon law. Besides, even if he was invited by the junior clan elder, he still has to go through the Star Brilliance Palace Hall's inquiry and investigation before he can enter Dragon Island. All right. Xiaolong waved his claws impatiently. I know. Hurry up and let Xiaohua in. Remember? No, I will be watching from here. If you dare to chase Xiaohua away, I will tear you all apart and eat you. Hee, little elder, don't worry. The dragon envoy laughed. I'm just a little worried about the Immortal Palace. I'm afraid it's not easy to report to the Star Brilliance Palace Hall. As long as little elder says the word, how can we not let Xiaohua enter Dragon Island? As he spoke, a dragon soldier opened the passage again. Xiaolong said, Xiaohua, you can go in. I'll go to the Dragon Qi realm to find you in a while. Little elder. The dragon envoy hurriedly advised. The Dragon Qi realm is a place outside Dragon Island to test the purity of the bloodline of the descendants. It's not suitable for you to go, right? What can I do if I go and take a look? Xiaolong was a little impatient. Why can't I do this and can't I do that? As he spoke, Xiaolong shook his head and left. The dragon envoy turned around and looked coldly at Xiaohua. Xiaohua, we all know what you're thinking. However, don't think that just because you've hooked up with the little elder, my Dragon Island will be schemed against by you. You must be careful. Although I'll let you enter Dragon Island, I'll immediately report today's matter to the fourth elder. You'll have to bear all the consequences. Xiaohua simply ignored the dragon envoy's threat. He was very disgusted by the dragon envoy's coldness towards the group of dragon blood descendants. Although he was clear that he had indeed taken advantage of Xiaolong's curiosity, he could only take one step at a time. However, he still said indifferently, this Xiao has no intention of letting your Dragon Island resist the Immortal Palace. It's just that you all feel too good about it. As he finished speaking, Xiaohua stepped into the passage with his head held high. He didn't even dare to look at these dragon generals. The passageway was pitch black, and there was no sense of transmission. Xiaohua could only be on guard as he walked in step by step. After he had walked for several thousand feet, his eyes suddenly lit up, and a gorgeous space appeared in front of him. This space seemed to be boundless. Spirals of clouds filled the entire space. Near the clouds, there were countless dragon patterns flickering and spreading. When the dragon patterns landed on the clouds, they caused the clouds to ripple like huge dragons. The dragon patterns were reflected in the space and ripples appeared. Black and white colors seeped out from the cracks of the ripples. And in this crack, whether it was humans or demons, appeared one after another. Their faces were filled with longing and admiration. It was as if this was a sacred realm of the dragon race. Daoist Xiao is also here? Xiaohua naturally flew out from this crack. Ao Zhantian's voice sounded in his ears. Xiaohua nodded. Yes, it's really difficult to set foot on Dragon Island. Ao Zhantian's face was slightly hot. He looked around and changed the topic. He smiled and said, This is my first time coming to Dragon Island. I didn't expect Dragon Island to be at the bottom of the sea. Now that I've come out from the sea, it feels good to be in this space without water. Yes. Xiaohua didn't want to mention Ao Zhantian's hesitation anymore. He smiled and said, Dragons are dragons and humans are humans. The place of life and the path of cultivation are also different. Actually, that might not be the case. Ao Moyun's voice sounded from afar. She flew over on a cloud and said, If Daoist Xiao understands the secrets of Dragon Island, he might discover some other strange things. Perhaps. Xiaohua nodded. People often say that all things return to the same origin. Perhaps when we reach the end of cultivation we will discover that the essence of cultivation is perhaps the same. Buzz buzz buzz. Before Ao Moyun could say anything else, 9 colored lights flashed around the entire space. The lights were like 9 huge dragons swimming together. Layers of oppressive dragon qi gradually filled the entire space. As the dragon aura swept across the space, the cloud patterns covering the space completely disappeared. One by one, the human clan, the demon clan, and even the dragon clan revealed their figures. Although the demon clan and the dragon clan were huge in size, they were like densely packed ants in this space. Disciples. A dignified voice descended from the sky. On behalf of Dragon Island, this old man congratulates you all for passing the selection and entering Dragon Island to train. This is the Dragon Qi realm, where the purity of your dragon blood is measured. According to the rules of Dragon Island, you will be divided into 7 levels according to the purity of your bloodline. You will go to Clear Snow, Baotu, Qiubo, Shijiao, Chunmeng, Yenshu and Xiaoyu to train. However, this year is different. The Stacked Jade Legacy Realm on Dragon Island, which hasn't opened for nearly a million years, suddenly shows signs of opening. Therefore, Dragon Island has selected some dragon blood descendants and dragons from the 2 rivers and 4 seas for this training. This time, the first to be selected in the Dragon Chi realm are the dragons who can enter the Stacked Jade Legacy realm. Then the other 7 levels of descendants will be selected. Mr. Moyun, what is the Stacked Jade Legacy realm? Xiao Hua frowned and transmitted his voice in a low voice. Unfortunately, Ao Moyun didn't seem to hear him. He only stood there quietly and listened. Seeing this, Xiao Hua opened his mouth to speak. However, he could only open his mouth but he couldn't speak. It was obvious that the entire Dragon Chi realm had been muted when the Dragon Chi was revealed. All right. That voice still spoke in a neither fast nor slow manner. You all can reveal your dragon bodies. Then you can enter the training area according to your own destiny. Wong Wong. Following the disappearance of the voice, a huge rumbling sound was produced in the space. 8 dragon patterns appeared everywhere. One of them was as bright as the sun, and its brilliance was soft and gentle as it hung in the center. Then a fist-sized black hole appeared in the middle of the dragon pattern. A powerful dragon breath rushed out of this black hole and majestically rushed into the space. Roar, roar, roar. Dragon roars resounded everywhere in the space. One after another, huge dragons revealed their figures. Those dragon descendants without dragon bodies also roared and released their dragon blood dharma bodies. There was no dragon blood in Xiao Hua's bloodline, so he wasn't affected by the dragon's aura. However, Ao Zhantian was different from Ao Moyun. Ao Zhantian's blood dragon hovered above his head, greedily absorbing the dragon's aura in the air. Meanwhile, Ao Moyun's bloodline dharma body was a pitch-black dragon form. This dragon form was at least 200 feet in size, and was much more solid than Ao Zhantian's blood dragon. Not only were the dragon scales clearly visible, even the slender dragon horns on the black dragon's head and the slightly exquisite features on the dragon's head revealed Ao Moyun's gender. If they were anywhere else, their dragon form dharma bodies would definitely be astonishing. However, in this Dragon Chi realm, dragon forms that were thousands of feet in size appeared one after another. How could they show off their extraordinariness? Wong Wong. Another thunderous boom rang out, and the draconic aura increased once again. Ao Zhantian's blood dragon expanded by 30%, while Ao Moyun's black dragon expanded by more than 3 times, reaching a length of over 6,000 feet. It was also at this moment that Xiao Hua's dragon vein suddenly jumped. Dragon vein Xiao Hua's voice suddenly sounded, "Io, what's going on? Why does it seem like something is calling I out?" Fuck. Xiao Hua turned pale with fright and he hurriedly yelled, "Fellow Taoist dragon vein, you mustn't come out. Once you come out, who wouldn't know our purpose in coming to the Dragon Island? Even if I temporarily attracted the attention of that little elder, we won't be able to go to the dragon cleansing pond anymore." Chapter 3999. Fellow Taoist. At this moment, the green-robed Xiao Hua's voice also sounded somewhat anxious. Ao Moyun's jade eyes recorded many secrets of the dragon clan, but there was no record of the dragon cleansing pool. Why don't you ask her where the dragon cleansing pool is? I can't transmit my voice now. Xiao Hua smiled bitterly. I'll go ask that little elder after this selection. He definitely knows more than Ao Zhantian and Ao Moyun. Boss. As Xiao Hua spoke, more draconic aura descended. Xiao Hua's dragon vein pulsed several times again, as if there was a giant hand within the draconic aura realm that wanted to grab him. Xiao Hua didn't dare to be negligent. He hurriedly activated the dragonization art, trying to stabilize the dragon vein. However, as soon as he activated it, countless draconic aura swarmed in, and the dragon vein almost broke free from his body. Damn it, Xiao Hua was shocked and hurriedly stopped the dragonization art. Only then did the dragon vein begin to stabilize. In the time it took to eat a meal, the draconic aura increased several times. Ao Zhantian's blood dragon stopped growing after reaching 300 meters, but Ao Moyun's black dragon grew to 3,000 meters. Xiao Hua clenched his teeth and tried his best to resist the draconic aura. His dragon vein had already deviated from his meridians and was trembling violently within his body, as if it was on the verge of breaking free. Children. That dignified voice sounded again. Release your bloodlines. there is still one last chance. If your dragon true body reaches 10,000 meters, and your descendants reach 50,000 meters, you can enter the stacked Jade Legacy realm. Buzz. Hundreds of millions of vortexes suddenly appeared in the Draconic Aura realm. Strands of Draconic Aura condensed into crystal threads rushed out of the vortexes. All the dragons in the space roared as they absorbed the Draconic Aura. Aomoyun's black dragon grew again. Damn it, am I going to die? Xiaohua clenched his teeth and blocked the dragon vein with his body. He didn't want to enter the stacked Jade Legacy realm. He only wanted to find the dragon cleansing pool to condense his body. After enduring for the time it took to brew a cup of tea, all the vortexes began to converge, and the crystal threads also disappeared. The dragon pattern in the center began to change, and a large pitch-black hole gradually appeared in the gentle brilliance. Xiaohua let out a long sigh of relief, knowing that the selection of the Dragon Chi realm was nearing its end. At this moment, it was time to select the dragons and their descendants who could enter the stacked Emerald Legacy realm. This Aomoyun indeed has some background. Xiaohua's eyes narrowed slightly as he looked at Aomoyun's black dragon blood body, which had already reached a height of 50,000 feet. He thought to himself, she definitely knows a lot of secrets. Xiaohua, where are you? At this moment, a voice resounded through the air. The little dragon that Xiaohua had seen earlier rushed out from the newly formed pitch-black hole. Once this little dragon entered the Dragon Chi realm, its body expanded uncontrollably, instantly transforming into a giant dragon that was several 100,000 feet long, suppressing all the dragons within the Dragon Chi realm. The little dragon's gaze was like lightning, and as its body expanded, it already saw Xiaohua. Its entire body moved slightly, and in an instant, it rushed to Xiaohua's left side. Although Xiaohua let out a sigh of relief at this moment, the dragon vein in his body was still forcefully supporting itself. When the little dragon appeared in the Dragon Chi realm, its huge dragon body attracted almost 10% of the Dragon Chi in the space. Seeing the little dragon fly over again, almost another 30% of the Dragon Chi was attracted to Xiaohua's side. This sudden gathering of Dragon Chi had already exceeded the limit that Xiaohua's dragon vein could support. Roar? Another dragon roar resounded through the Dragon Chi realm from Xiaohua's body. The dragon vein Xiaohua transformed into a dragon and came out of Xiaohua's physical body. Whoa! The dragon vein Xiaohua had already revealed its figure, and it immediately stirred up a fierce wind. In the Dragon Chi realm that had already stabilized, all the vortexes opened up once again, and numerous crystal threads rushed madly into the dragon form. In just a moment, a giant dragon that was several 100,000 feet long, even stronger than the little dragon, coiled within the Dragon Chi realm. Not only was the little dragon shocked, even Ao Zhantian and Ao Moyun were dumbfounded. A dragon blood dharma body that was several 100,000 feet long, not to mention that they had never seen it before, they had never even heard of it before. Ah, fun. When all the dragons and dragon descendants were dumbfounded, the little dragon laughed loudly, and its huge dragon body swept towards the dragon vein Xiaohua. However, before it could get close, the dragon vein Xiaohua let out a dragon roar, and its body flashed with an indescribable dragon might and dragon vein true chi, forcing the little dragon to submit and not dare to get close. The little dragon almost didn't dare to believe the dragon chi emitted by the dragon vein Xiaohua was emitting. What kind of true dragon are you? Could it be a five-clawed true dragon? Unfortunately, although the dragon vein Xiaohua was almost fully formed, its dragon body was not complete, especially the abdomen and dragon head. There were still many incomplete parts. These incomplete parts were previously repaired by the dragon vein Xiaohua, and now in the Dragon Chi realm, the little dragon and the others could see clearly. What kind of dragon blood dharma body is this? The dignified voice couldn't help but shout. No, this is not a true bloodline. Which true dragon's descendant are you? Damn it, Xiaohua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He looked at Ao Zhantian helplessly. He was only here to participate in the selection and training with Ao Zhantian, the true dragon descendant. He was supposed to be his so-called guard, but he never thought that he would cause such a big commotion in the Dragon Chi realm. Judging from the current situation, among the 100,000 dragons and their descendants in the Dragon Chi realm, there was probably no one who had his true bloodline. But thinking about it, the dragon vein Xiaohua was formed by the dragon vein condensed from true Dragon Chi, so of course the Father of Heaven and Mother of Earth's bloodline inheritance was nobler than the dragon bloodline inheritance. Buzz. As the dignified voice fell, a black hole appeared and a rumbling sound came from the black hole. A huge suction force enveloped Xiaohua, and the dragon body that was several 100,000 feet long was pulled into the black hole, and of course Xiaohua himself was also pulled in. Haha, interesting, interesting. The little dragon coiled its huge body and also rushed into the black hole. Far away from the black hole, there was another huge dragon that was several 100,000 feet long. Its eyes looked at the black hole that Xiaohua disappeared into, and it revealed a thoughtful expression. Then over 1,000 huge dragons were sucked into the black hole, followed by another 300 or so humans and demons. After these dragons and their descendants that were qualified to enter the stacked Jade Legacy realm disappeared, the other 7 dragon veins produced black holes again, and Ao Zhantian and the others were sucked in according to their dragon body and dragon form. Xiaohua was pulled into the black hole by the huge force and he only felt dizzy. Tens of thousands of strange dragon veins appeared in the pitch-black darkness, and each of the dragon veins emitted a dragon might that was comparable to a huge dragon. The entire pitch-black space was like a country of 10,000 dragons, and countless gazes that wanted to see through the dragon vein Xiaohua swept over him. At this time, Xiaohua wanted to absorb the dragon vein into his body, but the huge force was like the might of heaven, so strong that Xiaohua couldn't resist. Whoa! Just like a hurricane sweeping through the mountain forest, a burst of maple leaves fell down. Xiaohua heard the sound of the wind beside his ear, and he saw several dozen scarlet radiances flashing before his eyes. A huge palace hall appeared before his eyes. This palace hall was the same as the other places on the Dragon Island. It was filled with seawater. However, the seawater inside this palace hall was so calm that not a single ripple was set off. It was as pure as a crystal. When one's gaze fell on the water, this water seemed to be transparent as if it didn't exist. Xiaohua's figure stood still in the middle of the palace hall. That huge force already disappeared. Roar! The dragon vein Xiaohua let out a long hiss and entered Xiaohua's body. Xiaohua absorbed the dragon vein and raised his eyes to look all around. His eyes were filled with astonishment. Below Xiaohua's feet, one after another huge hexagonal pattern was pieced together. Each pattern was several 100 feet in size. Xiaohua's gaze swept across the entire palace hall, and he felt that it was boundless. Raising his head, the ceiling of the entire palace hall was dark green. One after another huge star splendor was embedded in the dark green. The star splendor flickered. As soon as Xiaohua's gaze fell on it, the star splendor immediately flared up. Inside the star splendor, one after another huge dragons were roaring or fighting or swimming and so on. These dragons seemed to have an endless suction force, drawing Xiaohua's gaze, wanting to drag Xiaohua into the star splendor. Xiaohua didn't dare to look anymore and hastily withdrew his gaze. And at this time, one after another scarlet radiances flickered one after another. More than 1,000 huge dragons, including that little elder, were revealed one after another. Admittedly, the size of these huge dragons had already shrunk, but each of them was still more than 1,000 feet in size. But as it happened in this palace hall, each and every one of these huge dragons seemed to be in human form, making Xiaohua unable to detect any peculiarity. Haha, Xiaohua. The little dragon's voice was very excited and shouted, "You really made me have a whole new level of respect for you. In this Star Brilliance Palace Hall, there has never been a dragon outside of Dragon Island who stood at the front more than me." Xiaohua rubbed his nose and truly had a somewhat bitter smile. Of course, these more than 1,000 huge dragons had appeared behind him. Admittedly, the little dragon's voice was filled with excitement, but the eyes of the other dragons were not malevolent, as if all of them wanted to tear apart this human who had suddenly appeared and immediately suppressed them. After the little dragon finished speaking, more radiances appeared, and Ao Moyun and the other members of the Yao clan and the human clan appeared again after these dragons. They were already far away, and when Xiaohua's gaze swept over them, he actually had a kind of ethereal feeling. Ah! A rough voice came from the depths of the Star Brilliance Palace Hall. Not bad, there are actually 1,462 people who have the qualifications to enter the Stacking Jade Legacy realm. This has really exceeded this old man's expectations. You wait for them to come over? Yes. Inside the Star Brilliance Palace Hall, everyone from the Human Clan, Yao Clan and Dragon Clan felt a chill in their hearts at the same time, and lowered their heads in response. Then they saw the water under the feet of Xiaohua and the others curl up, and layer upon layer of fine waves surged. One after another, vast palaces appeared in front of everyone's eyes. This palace hall was somewhat similar to the palaces of the Human Clan. It overflowed with precious light and was extremely extravagant. At the head of the palace hall, a bronze-colored old dragon was lazily floating in the water with his dragon body coiled up. On that raised dragon head, the two golden pupils and the slightly open pair of eyes were particularly eye-catching. Fourth Elder. The little dragon, who had always been undisciplined, was also very respectful when he arrived here. He followed behind Xiaohua and carefully shouted. Chapter 4000. Ao Sheng, why did you go to the Dragon Chi realm? Even a casual sentence from the fourth elder sounded very dignified. His voice resounded in this grand hall filled with treasures, echoing around the humans and monsters. Elder. Ao Sheng swayed his tail and smiled. If the boy didn't go, how would he have discovered Xiaohua? That guy is really incredible. Cough cough. The fourth elder coughed twice and stopped Ao Sheng's words. Then he looked at the thousands of dragons and demons in the hall and said, "You all should know the origin of the stacked jade Forgotten Realm. This time, when the Forgotten Realm opens, only the dragons with the bloodline of the true dragon can enter. We are already old and our old bones can't withstand the torment. The mission of exploring the Forgotten Realm will be handed over to you all." Yes, we know. The dragons seemed to have been prepared and replied in unison. For the opening of the stacked jade Forgotten Realm, my Dragon Island has already made preparations. You all are also the elites of my dragon clan in the 2 rivers and 4 seas. You all have the opportunity to enter the Forgotten Realm. It is your own honor and also the clan's honor. Remember, when you arrive at Dragon Island, you are a member of my dragon clan. You must forget your previous identity, especially when you enter the Forgotten Realm. You must cooperate sincerely and don't have any disloyalty. The fourth elder said earnestly. Moreover, this old man also knows that many demon clans, human clans and dragon clans have plans for this folded jadeite legacy realm. There is no lack of killing between each other. Even within the dragon travel to Dragon Island, there are some demon clans that have killed many dragon blood descendants in order to obtain the qualifications. Dragon Island has already investigated these matters. Those who dare to make a move on the descendants of the dragon clan, my Dragon Island will definitely not tolerate them. We will definitely use the same methods to eliminate them. Also, when you enter the stacked jade Forgotten Realm, your own opportunities are important, but the information regarding the dragon domain is even more important. Dragon Island will definitely reward whoever can bring the information out of the dragon domain. The fourth elder's sharp gaze once again swept across the dragons and said, ever since the dragon domain lost contact with my Dragon Island, the situation of the dragon clan has been deteriorating. The various clans are fighting as equals, causing trouble. Now, my dragon clan urgently needs information about the dragon domain. Yes, we understand. The group of dragons hurriedly replied. The fourth elder nodded, he waved his dragon claw and a dragon shell flew out. Thousands of golden leaves fell in front of every dragon, monster, and human except for Xiaohua and Ao Sheng. This is the true dragon medallion for entering the stacked jade legacy realm. Inside were things to take note of and some preparations to make when entering the Forgotten Realm. Moreover, this true dragon token is also the proof for you to leave the stacked jade legacy realm. Don't lose it. The fourth elder looked at the dragons holding the leaves and instructed indifferently, all of you may leave. The Dragon Island has prepared a palace for each of you. Recuperate and rest first. When the Forgotten Realm opens, the dragon soldiers of the Dragon Island will bring you in. Yes, we understand. The group of dragons bowed again, and then disappeared from the Star Brilliance Palace with a surge of watery light. In a short moment, only Xiaohua, Ao Sheng, and the fourth elder remained in the empty palace. Xiaohua Dao Sect Xiaohua, the fourth elder looked at Xiaohua with interest. He was no longer speaking the dragon language, but the human language of the hidden immortal continent. In the early years, this old man also saw the news of you defeating the immortal palace's true monarch Qingyuan. At that time, this old man only regarded it as a joke and didn't take it to heart. However, when the news of the Fiend God blood pool came, you actually broadcast the seeds of grain within the 10,000-li blood pool, which immediately attracted this old man's attention. This old man couldn't think of anyone in this world other than the old bald donkey of the Buddhist sect who would have such a benevolent heart. What are you, a Tao sect cultivator, planning in your heart? Therefore, this old man rarely used the power of the Dragon Island to see where you came from and what your master was. However, before the real news came, you actually appeared in front of this old man. Especially, you not only shocked this old man, but also shocked the Great Elder and the 9 elders of the Dragon Island. Clan Elder also came? When Ao Xing heard the great elder's name, his body immediately stiffened. He lowered his head and drooped his tail as if he was very scared. Not only the clan elder came. The other 7 elders also came to the dragon palace. The 4th elder glanced at Ao Xing and said indifferently, "It's over, it's over." Ao Xing muttered. His body slowly shrank and moved towards the back as if he wanted to escape. The 4th elder sneered, "If you want to slip away now, how can it be too late?" "When did I want to slip away?" Ao Xing was exposed by the 4th elder and immediately raised his head. He puffed out his chest and said, "I still want to go to the clan elder to ask for a reward. If it wasn't for me, how could I discover Xiaohua's true dragon qi and pick him out?" The 4th elder no longer paid attention to this little guy. He looked at Xiaohua again and said, "Xiaohua, this old man asks you, do you know Gui clan?" "Gui clan?" Xiaohua was stunned. He slightly shook his head and said respectfully, "Let 4th elder know, this one doesn't know what Gui clan is. I've never even heard of it." "Then do you know the 10 clans of Dragon Island?" The 4th elder wasn't surprised and asked again. "This." Xiaohua hesitated for a moment and nodded. This one heard people talking about the 10 clans of Dragon Island on Dragon Island. However, this one doesn't know which 10 clans they are. Could it be that this Gui clan is one of the 10 clans of Dragon Island? The 4th elder nodded and explained, "The 10 clans of Dragon Island are the 10 branches of Dragon Island. Dragon language naturally has the pronunciation of the 10 clans, but it can't be written down. If it is written in human language, it should be Long Gui Pang Gui Luo Gui clan." Since there are 10 clans of Dragon Island, why did the 4th elder mention Gui clan? Xiaohua asked strangely. Because the people who were killed on Dragon Island were all descendants of Gui clan. The 4th elder explained, "This old man thinks, you might also be a descendant of Gui clan." Xiaohua slightly shook his head. "This one is a human and I don't have any true bloodline. As for this dragon qi, it's also strange. This one only vaguely knows where it came from. As for how it really came from, this one's soul might have been searched by someone, so I can't remember clearly." "In that case, you don't even know your own origin?" The 4th elder wrinkled his brows and said in astonishment. Xiaohua looked at the old dragon in the distance. There wasn't any dragon might around him, and he also couldn't see anything special. However, Xiaohua clearly knew that he couldn't be careless. Any deliberate concealment would arouse the other party's suspicion. In the eyes of this old dragon, his strength was not even comparable to an infant. He had to say what he needed to say. Therefore Xiaohua nodded and said, "That's right. When I was traveling in the lower reaches of Tsang Immortal Continent, I wanted to find my own origin. Moreover, after this one succeeded in cultivation, I also used the Dao Sect's magic to search my own memories. Inside there was a fragmented abnormality, I couldn't find anything. Moreover, this soul-searching technique is very harmful to this one. This one doesn't dare to search my own origin again." The 4th elder nodded and said thoughtfully, "It seems like my Dragon Island secret technique can't be searched again? 4th elder, please spare this one." Xiaohua smiled bitterly, "This one can't withstand the soul-searching technique again and again." "Alright." The 4th elder looked at the small dragon body stretching out and said, "Follow this old man to the Dragon Palace Hall." "Can I not go?" Ao Xing shouted hastily. "No." The 4th elder stretched out his dragon body. A burst of dragon qi filled the entire Star Brilliance Palace Hall. He swept Xiaohua and Ao Sheng into the water of the Star Brilliance Palace Hall and disappeared. The 4th elder's divine ability was very strange. Xiaohua only felt an unparalleled fluctuation wrapping around him. The magic power in his body and so on were all confined. In just a few breaths, this confinement disappeared again. When he opened his eyes, he found himself on top of a sea wave filled with the aura of desolation. He saw the sea wave surging to the sky. Countless dragons with different appearances were playing and dancing at the bottom of the sea. In the distance of the sea wave, it seemed like a mirage, but it also seemed like a real huge mountain range. Huge bird heads were resting on the huge mountain range. Even more giants and huge beasts were fighting on the huge mountain range. The aura of desolation filled Xiaohua's mouth and nose. A kind of primitive impulse came out from his dragon vein. Roar! That dragon vein broke away from Xiaohua's control for a moment. It rushed out from his body and turned into several tens of thousands of zhang large and fell into the sea wave. After the huge dragon roamed for a while, it floated out of the water and carried Xiaohua on its dragon head. Roar roar! Looking at the depths of the sea wave, 9 huge pillars rose up like shrines. 9 huge dragons were coiled on top of them. Each of them raised their heads and roared. Wherever the dragon roars past, a mountain range engraved with the will of desolation appeared near the 9 huge pillars. Xiaohua, welcome to the Dragon Palace. On top of the 9 huge pillars, a huge dragon that looked like it was made of gold opened its mouth and said. That voice was so vicissitudes of life, but also so majestic as if everything in the world would be driven by this voice. Roar. Out of Xiaohua's expectations, the dragon vein Xiaohua roared. The dragon head was raised high, lifting Xiaohua to a height of 10,000 zhang. He didn't look much shorter than the huge pillars. Junior Xiaohua greets Great Elder. Xiaohua didn't dare to be negligent. He hurriedly bowed and saluted. Then he looked at the few huge dragons on the left and the 4th elder, who he went to see first, and saluted again. Greetings, elders. Hee hee. A sharp sneer resounded. You are merely a badly damaged dragon body, yet you actually have this kind of vicious aura. You are still not in a hurry to submit after seeing us revered dragons. If we wait for you to reach perfection, wouldn't you turn the sky upside down? Along with this voice, a burst of destructive aura was transmitted from a silver-white huge dragon. It swept towards the dragon vein Xiaohua. This aura was so vast, Xiaohua had no doubt that if this aura landed on the dragon vein Xiaohua, the dragon vein Xiaohua would definitely turn into ashes. However, Xiaohua didn't panic. If the Dragon Island's 9th elder wanted to kill him, why wait until now? Sure enough, just as this aura was about to land, the Great Elder said with a smile, 2nd elder, don't be anxious. Xiaohua is a human, he doesn't have enough control over this draconic qi. And this draconic qi is innately noble, it is normal for him to not submit to us revered dragons. Currently, I'm still missing the dragon head. After Xiaohua finished speaking, he thought that the 9 elders of Dragon Island would be overjoyed. However, who would have thought that the silver-white dragon would let out a furious roar and pounce down like the heaven and earth? Even Xiaohua, who has the dragon vein, is suppressed by this ferocious aura. The 2nd elder's malevolent dragon head is right above Xiaohua's head. He yells fiercely, You still say that you have nothing to do with the Gui clan. If you are not from the Gui clan, how did you obtain this incomplete Longyu? Xiaohua never thought that this incomplete Longyu would actually be related to the Gui clan. He opens his mouth but doesn't know how to explain. After a while, he can only shake his head and say, Junior doesn't know how to explain. However, Junior knows that Junior doesn't know what the Gui clan is. Furthermore, Junior doesn't know how this Longyu is related to the Gui clan. 2nd elder. Great Elder opens his mouth. This Xiaohua shouldn't be from the Gui clan. Furthermore, this old man also can't see how he is related to the Gui clan. Then where did he come from? How did he obtain the Longyu? 2nd elder doesn't retreat. Instead he yells, Back then my Dragon Island used the power of the entire island, the power of the entire clan to search the 3 continents. Even after searching the 3 rivers and 4 seas, we still couldn't find the Longyu. How did he, a mere human, obtain it? You can't see his origin, and even more so, you can't see his future. Where did such a strange person come from in this world? 2nd elder, do you remember the Gui clan outside of my dragon clan? Great Elder doesn't care about 2nd elder's refutation and only asks indifferently. What? Gui clan? You think Xiaohua is from the Gui clan? How is this possible? 2nd elder is shocked. His eyes look up and down at Xiaohua in disbelief. Great Elder sighs and says, Xiaohua, where did the dragon qi in your body come from? I heard 4th elder say that your memory was erased. Do you still have some impression of the current you? This junior vaguely remembers that it was caused by the great earth dragon vein entering this junior's meridians. Xiaohua's head is spinning from the dragon clan's secret. He can only answer honestly, as for where, this junior also doesn't know. Great earth dragon vein. Great earth dragon vein. 2nd elder says the word you 3 times in a row. He actually doesn't know how to continue. His entire dragon body retreats. His last sentence of envy and jealousy floats down. Why didn't you get stuffed to death by this dragon vein? Then, you obtained the incomplete Longyu and began to cultivate the cultivation technique inside? Another bronze-colored giant dragon asks, How can you possibly understand my dragon clan's cultivation technique? Yes. Xiao Hua nods. This junior doesn't understand the dragon clan's cultivation technique. Instead, this junior borrowed the demon clan's blood shadow art and let the dragon vein cultivate by itself. What? You used the demon clan's cultivation technique to cultivate my dragon clan's long yu cultivation technique? That elder is clearly shocked by Xiao Hua's unconstrained cultivation technique. Yes, the dragon transformation art is recorded in the long yu. This junior felt that this dragon transformation art can strengthen the toughness of my meridians, so I thought of ways to cultivate it. Xiao Hua's words are his original intention of cultivating the dragon transformation art. Fourth elder also looks at Xiao Hua strangely and asks, in other words, you used the dragon vein as your own meridians and used the dragon vein as the foundation to cultivate the Dao Sect's techniques? Indeed. No wonder you look like you are only at the 5th level of Essence Energy Realm, but your strength actually reached the 6th level of Essence Energy Realm. This way it can be explained. Fourth elder sighs and says. Xiao Hua's heart trembles. He secretly feels lucky that he spoke the truth. Elders, what do you think? Great elder asks. Soul search. Second elder says coldly, this Xiao Hua's origin is really strange. It is as if he suddenly appeared from hidden immortal continent. Furthermore, there are too many traces of the Gui clan on his body. If I do not carefully soul search, this old man will not believe him. Second elder. Fourth elder disagrees. Xiao Hua said it very clearly. His soul has already been searched and he also tried to repair it. Now that we are going to search his soul again, are you still going to let him live? Whether he lives or not has nothing to do with this old man. It has nothing to do with my dragon island. Second elder replies, this sovereign only wants to know the whereabouts of the Gui clan, find out their plans and find out the truth of the matter. This old man does not agree to soul search. That bronze-colored elder says, Xiao Hua is a human. The dragon chi in his body is the true earth vein fate. If he goes through the baptism of the heaven vein fate in the dragon cleansing pool, the heaven, earth, and soul chi will definitely condense into a 5-clawed true dragon. Then it will really be the Gui clan, the dragon clan of my dragon clan. How can we obstruct this kind of Gui clan's dragon? Xiao Hua's dragon vein might be able to form the Gui clan, but he himself is not from the Gui clan. This old man also suggests a soul search and trace his origin. Another elder says, will this have any effect on the birth of the Gui clan's dragon? You cannot soul search. Another elder shouts, the stacked Jadeite legacy realm has not opened for several million years. Xiao Hua's appearance today might be an opportunity for our dragon clan. If he is able to find some secret of the dragon domain in the stacked Jadeite legacy realm, it will be of utmost importance to the development of our dragon island. Soul search. Another elder shouts, even if we do not soul search, we still cannot let a human who does not know his foundation rashly enter the ancient legacy realm. Following the few elders' dispute, the sound of a tsunami frequently rises in the entire dragon palace. The scenery in the surroundings starts to tear apart. The desolate alien realm starts to surge towards Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua understands the dragon palace that he is looking at right now is most likely an illusion. It was created by the great elder in order to let him, a human, adapt to it. Since the great elder can even consider this kind of minor detail, presumably he won't kill him. At this time a timid voice resounds, Elder boy, can you say a few words? It is precisely Ao Sheng who has been hiding in the distant ocean waves all along, not daring to say anything. What do you have to say? The great elder asks curiously. Ao Sheng flies out from the ocean waves and says word by word, Elders, it has always been difficult for our dragon clan to reproduce. Ensuring the purity of our bloodline is even more difficult. Boy might be young, but he might be respected as a junior elder. Isn't it precisely because the boy's bloodline is purer than the other dragons? Looking at the descendants of our dragon clan again, as long as they are related by marriage with our dragon clan, all of their descendants are flourishing. Our dragon clan has obtained a lot of shade. Towards this kind of descendant, our dragon clan can still treat them leniently. We can open up the dragon island to train and bestow them with grace. Why is it so harsh towards Xiao Hua, a human who has the potential to become a 5-clawed true dragon? This kind of dragon chi is the chi of heaven and earth. According to legend, the primordial dragon is only formed from the heavenly vein. Xiao Hua's dragon vein is the earthly vein. The dragon vein formed from the earthly vein is only bestowed with the primordial dragon's bloodline. This is extremely important for the reproduction of our dragon island. Chapter 4002. Ao Xing continued, "What's more, Xiaohua has the dragon jade that can't be found anywhere on Dragon Island. If he offers the dragon jade, wouldn't Dragon Island's dragon transformation art be complete? Wouldn't more descendants of the dragon clan be able to transform into real dragon bodies? Wouldn't Dragon Clan be even more prosperous? Such a meritorious servant of the Dragon Clan. How can the elders kill him so casually? How could the other 9 elders not know what Ao Xing said? How could the 3 elders who wanted to search Xiaohua's soul not know? However, every elder had their own thoughts and plans, so the decisions they made were naturally different. Ao Xing. Great Elder asked, "Do you know why your name has the word saint?" Ao Xing said proudly, "Boy naturally knows. Boy's bloodline is pure, and he shocked Dragon Island the moment he was born. The elders have high expectations for Boy, and hope that Boy can once again be ranked as the great saint of the demon clan after the mysterious armored holy dragon." Hee hee. Great Elder laughed, "We are very gratified that you have such great ambitions. The so-called great saint of the demon clan is just a title. The mysterious armored 5-horned holy dragon came from Dragon Island, and he became a great saint in the 1,000 demon sacred realm. Naturally, he is where our dragon clan looks up to. However, compared to the path of the great saint, we hope that you can use the name, saint, understand the sacred path, understand the sacred will, and continue our dragon clan's grand event." Yes, Boy understands. Ao Xing was confused, but he didn't dare to ask more and only nodded in agreement. Great Elder looked at Ao Xing affectionately and ordered, "You can go now. Today's matter of Dragon Chi realm was supposed to punish you, but you were able to force Xiaohua's Dragon Chi out, which can be considered as atoning for your crime." Then Xiaohua. Ao Xing opened his mouth and muttered, "Boy is still waiting for him to tell Boy a story. The training time in the Stacked Jade Legacy realm is very long, let him tell you slowly." Great Elder replied indifferently. Ao Xing was overjoyed, he bowed and wagged his tail. Yes, the boy understands, the boy will go down now." After Ao Xing's figure disappeared, the Great Elder looked around and said in a dignified tone, "Since the 6 elders don't agree with the soul-searching, then this old man will withdraw the 2nd elder's suggestion to soul-search Xiaohua." Sigh Great Elder. The silver-white dragon sighed. Back then, there was a dispute over the punishment of the Gui clan in the Dragon Palace. The timing was delayed and the Gui clan escaped from the Dragon Island with Long Yu. Now it's still the same. I'm really speechless. Long Yu has indeed been lost, but hasn't Long Yu already returned? The Great Elder said with a smile, and those restless descendants of the Gui clan, aren't they also starting to show up now? Forget it. This old man must abide by the Dragon Palace Lord's decision. This old man has no objection to the Great Elder's decision. The 2nd elder sighed. The Great Elder waved his dragon claw, the same scarlet leaf landed in front of Xiaohua and said, "Xiaohua, this is your true dragon tablet. There is a record of the Stacked Jade Legacy realm inside. You are not very familiar with our Dragon Island, you can take a careful look. If there is anything you are unclear about, feel free to ask Ao Xing." Xiaohua was very surprised to see that he passed the test so easily. He hastily received the ice-cold True Dragon tablet, bowed and said, "Junior thanks the elders for your kindness, Junior will take my leave." Hee hee, don't be in such a hurry. The Great Elder said with a smile, "This old man still has something to tell you." Yes, Junior understands. Xiaohua knew that he was going to ask for the damaged Long Yu, but what can he do? He can only agree in a low voice. The Great Elder raised his dragon head, looked around and said indifferently, "Regarding Xiaohua's training in the Dragon Island, we will stop here for today. Since he is going to enter the Stacked Jade Legacy realm, then he will be considered as a member of our Dragon Island. During the time he is on the Dragon Island, no one is allowed to have any thoughts about him." Although the Great Elder's words sounded indifferent, his tone was unquestionable. Even if the 3 elders were still suspicious of Xiaohua, I'm afraid that this Great Elder can't do anything to him. Yes, we understand. The 4th elder was the first to answer. After waiting for a while, the Great Elder said to Xiaohua again, "Xiaohua, you can take out the Long Yu now, right?" Xiaohua blinked his eyes and said with a smile, "With Great Elder's Dragon Palace decree, Junior's heart is already at ease." Furthermore, the Dragon Island also gave Junior the opportunity to enter the Stacked Jade Legacy realm. Logically speaking, I should hand over the Long Yu to Great Elder. However, Great Elder, Junior actually doesn't want to enter the Stacked Jade Legacy realm. This is somewhat like forcing a duck onto a perch. Do you still need my Dragon Island to pay some price before you are willing to hand over the Long Yu? Without waiting for the second elder to speak, the fourth elder immediately asked with a snort. Xiaohua hastily replied, logically speaking, the Long Yu originally belonged to the Dragon Island. Now that Junior has taken it, returning it to the Dragon Island in perfect condition is extremely good. However, Junior also narrowly escaped death to obtain the Long Yu. Taking it out so plainly like this, Junior's heart feels uneasy. Hee, what do you mean by uneasy? You are just unwilling. The great elder was not surprised at all. He laughed and said, Xiaohua, do you know what the Stacked Jade Legacy Realm is? Do you know why the Dragon Python and His Majesty Qi killed so many Gu descendants within your dragon travel? What? Xiaohua nodded his head. Junior naturally didn't know before. However, Junior knows now that they killed so many descendants. It is precisely because they wanted to obtain the opportunity to enter the Stacked Jade Legacy Realm. Furthermore, the Stacked Jade Legacy Realm has not been opened for several million years. Naturally, it is an extremely rare place to gain experience on the Dragon Island. However, that is only for the dragon race. It does not have any attraction for Junior. You are wrong. The Great Elder replied, the Stacked Jade Legacy Realm is admittedly on my Dragon Island. However, the reason why it is called Legacy Realm is because it is a fragment left behind by the Dragon Domain on the Dragon Island. It does not belong to my Dragon Island, nor does it belong to the 3 rivers and 4 seas. How is that possible? Xiaohua was shocked. He opened his mouth but did not know what to say. Also, the Great Elder said again, don't you want to mold the body of your dragon vein? My Dragon Island does have the Dragon Cleansing Pool. However, this Dragon Cleansing Pool is also divided into 2. One is the Dragon Island's own. This Dragon Cleansing Pool can only allow the injured dragon race to recover their dragon body. It cannot truly mold the dragon soul's body out of nothing. The other Dragon Cleansing Pool is exactly what you need. It can mold the body of the dragon spirit and dragon vein. However, this Dragon Cleansing Pool is within the Stacked Jade Legacy Realm. The Dragon Cleansing Pool on my Dragon Island is merely an imitation of the dragon cleansing liquid that the dragon race brought out from the Stacked Jade Legacy Realm. It can't be. Xiaohua smiled bitterly. He really did not think that there would be 2 dragon cleansing pools. The Great Elder ignored Xiaohua's expression and continued, also, don't you want the Dragon Jade's head? Then this old man will also tell you that the Dragon Jade was originally obtained by the dragon race, the Ho race and the Ho race when they were training in the Stacked Jade Legacy Realm. The Ho race. For some reason they betrayed the Dragon Island and took the Dragon Jade away in 3 parts. According to my Dragon Island's knowledge, some of the Ho race's dragons entered the Stacked Jade Legacy Realm. If you want to obtain the complete Dragon Jade, you can only go to the Stacked Jade Legacy Realm to look for it. Just now, didn't Ao Xing say? Xiaohua was surprised. After all, Ao Xing had already mentioned the complete Dragon Jade. How would he know this Dragon Island's secret? The Great Elder replied, right now, this old man is telling you things that other dragon races' dragons don't know. Then, in other words, even if this junior offers the Dragon Jade, this junior will not obtain any benefits? At this moment, Xiaohua was truly speechless. You can obtain the qualifications to enter the Stacked Jade Legacy Realm. You can obtain the opportunity to find the complete Dragon Jade. The Great Elder smiled very cunningly. You can also obtain the protection of my Dragon Island. You can also no longer fear the pursuit of the Immortal Palace. Does Junior have any other choice? Xiaohua smiled bitterly and helplessly. You do. The Great Elder said in all seriousness. You can choose to take out the complete or incomplete Dragon Jade after training in the Stacked Jade Legacy Realm. At that time, you can propose your conditions to my Dragon Island. Of course, I presume that you also know that this Dragon Jade is something that my Dragon Island must obtain. Don't be too harsh on your conditions. Xiaohua smiled. Junior understands. Putting the Dragon Jade together, it will be easier to find it, right? Indeed. The Great Elder replied without hiding anything. This old man originally wanted to hand this matter over to Ao Shen. However, he is still young and seems to have a good impression of you. Letting him go find it, it would be better to let him accompany you. All right. Xiaohua nodded his head. This matter is beneficial to both Junior and Dragon Island. Even without Ao Sheng accompanying me, Junior will definitely complete it. That's right, since the Stacked Jade Legacy Realm is a fragment of the Dragon Domain, there must be something from the Dragon Domain inside. If Junior obtains it, as long as the Dragon Clan's descendants obtain something from the Stacked Jade Legacy Realm, in principle, it will belong to them. However, these things must be inspected by Dragon Island. You are entering the stacked jade legacy realm to train, of course you cannot break this rule. The second elder was impatient when he heard this and immediately answered for the great elder. Xiaohua's face showed helplessness. All right, Junior understands. Junior will also act according to Dragon Island's rules. Can Junior go down now? Don't be anxious. The great elder said again, I still want to tell you something. Although this stacked jade legacy realm is a fragment of the dragon domain, the spatial rules inside are already incomplete. It is completely different from Dragon Island or Hidden Immortal Continent. My dragon clan can enter inside. It can be considered as a fish in water. If you humans enter, there will be a lot of inconveniences. What kind of inconveniences? Xiaohua was startled and asked back. As for the specifics, this old man is also not too clear. After all, this old man is not a human. The great elder replied rather thought-provoking. However, according to some of the dragon clan's descendants who entered the stacked jade legacy realm, the Dao Sex cultivator's divine sense cannot leave their body. All of their magic treasures cannot be activated. Most of the Confucian cultivator's eye-clearing techniques cannot be used. Similarly, true qi cannot be activated. In other words, most of the Dao Sex and Confucian cultivator's divine abilities cannot be used. For humans to train in the stacked jade legacy realm, it is quite dangerous. Therefore, in this old man's opinion, you should leave Long Yu behind. Chapter 4003. Elder, do you have any other instructions? Xiaohua secretly calculated and asked. If not, Junior will take his leave and go. Seeing that Xiaohua was unmoved, Great Elder had no choice but to say, I'll arrange a quiet room for you to cultivate. When the stacked jade legacy realm opens, I'll send you there. Junior wants to ask again? Xiaohua's figure swayed and took Dragon Vein Xiaohua into the space. He asked again, when will the stacked jade legacy realm open? Maybe tomorrow or a few years later. Fourth Elder said with a smile, it won't be more than 100 years. So long? Xiaohua was a little surprised. It's only 100 years in the blink of an eye. Fourth Elder waved his dragon claw, but a wave rolled on the surface of the sea, covering Xiaohua and disappearing. Following Xiaohua's disappearance, the previously monstrous waves on the surface of the sea began to churn. Light and shadow flickered as the sea scenery around the giant pillar instantly disappeared. The desolate phenomenon on the surface of the sea suddenly extended into the distance. A moment later, a large dragon-shaped hall that gave off a desolate aura appeared outside the giant pillar. This hall seemed to be endless. The surroundings and even the roof of the hall were engraved with desolate diagrams. The diagrams were engraved with dragon patterns. Inside the dragon patterns, there was a faintly discernible and dignified dragon qi. From time to time, there was also a faint dragon roar coming from this dragon qi. The hall was also filled with crystal-like transparent seawater. On the side of the 9 huge dragon pillars, there was also an empty huge pillar. The 9 elders were still sitting on top of the huge pillar, as if they were thinking about something. After a long time, Fourth Elder said, This Xiaohua is a little strange. Alas, it's more than strange. With this old man's ability, it seems that I can't see through his true situation. An elder sighed and said, If Great Elder didn't use our dragon clan's secret technique to infer that this child is beneficial to our dragon clan, this old man would be like Second Elder and resolutely capture him and thoroughly investigate. Who doesn't have some secrets? Great Elder narrowed his eyes and said, As long as Xiaohua is useful to our dragon clan, who cares what secrets he has? But this Xiaohua's secret is too obvious. Second Elder said with some dissatisfaction. Let's not talk about anything else. He has the dragon jade in his possession. We should ask him to hand it over now. Also, his dragon vein seems to be different from what he said. This dragon vein Dharma idol seems to have its own soul. How can a Taoist cultivator who is able to absorb the great earth dragon vein into his body and meridians be compared to an ordinary person? The great elder said indifferently, Our dragon island doesn't have a complete dragon jade. We still have to rely on Xiaohua or Ao Xing to go to the folded jadeite legacy realm to find it. Rather than let Xiaohua have some grudges in his heart and be dissatisfied with my dragon island, why don't we just give him the mission of finding Long Yu? If he could find it, that would be for the best. He could profit from it himself. If he can't find it, then he will have to hand over the incomplete dragon jade to our dragon island. At that time, even if we don't mention it, he won't be able to refuse, right? The human race has always been full of schemes. How can we dragons guess what they're thinking? The second elder was still not at ease. Look at that Xiaohua, he used the opportunity of being a guard for my dragon clan's descendant to sneak into my dragon island, and even had the wishful thinking of molding his own dragon vein. If it wasn't for Ao Xing discovering him, who knows how big of a mess he would have caused on Dragon Island. He's just a human kid. Why should we care so much about him? The great elder said with a smile, if he can help my Dragon Island, that would be the end. Even if he can't help, my Dragon Island won't suffer any losses. Let him try. It's just that this old man is somewhat looking forward to it. When he reaches the stacked Jade Legacy realm and finds out the truth about the dragon cleansing pool, how will he deal with it? Alright then. Seeing that the great elder has already made his decision, the elders of Dragon Island didn't say anything else. The great elder's gaze swept past the 10th huge pillar at the edge, and a pensive expression flashed across his eyes. Xiaohua's figure was swept away by the waves. With a burst of light and darkness, his figure already appeared on top of an unbroken mountain ridge. Xiaohua released his divine sense. That divine sense wasn't restricted, so Xiaohua could clearly see a group of towering palaces on top of the mountain ridge. Each and every one of them was incomparably huge. Each of the palaces was built from agate and crystals that overflowed with precious light. They were so bright that they directly blinded Xiaohua's eyes. Looking at the mountain ridge below the palaces, there were also unknown ancient trees growing there. Aside from the majority of these ancient trees having rough skin like rocks, the rest of them looked very similar to the spiritual trees of hidden immortal continent. Some of these ancient trees formed a forest, some were isolated, and in addition to the crisscrossing mountain ridge, if Xiaohua himself wasn't in the clean seawater, he would almost think that this was a mountain peak somewhere on the continent. Hee Xiaohua. Just when Xiaohua was sizing up the surroundings, Ao Sheng's voice came from afar. After a string of bubbles mixed with water, Ao Sheng's figure appeared 10 zhang away. He looked around like a thief and asked in a low voice, "What did the elders say to you? They didn't make things difficult for you, right?" Xiaohua looked at this young dragon, cupped his hands and said, "Many thanks to immortal friend Ao for speaking up for justice. Otherwise this Xiao really wouldn't know how to deal with it." It's fine, it's fine." Ao Xing waved his hand looking very happy. "I just said it casually. If the elders take it seriously then so be it. Let's go, I'll take you to my palace." This? Xiaohua scratched his head and said, "I'm afraid it's not appropriate for this Xiao to go to a mortal friend's palace now, right? What's inappropriate about it?" Ao Sheng swung his dragon tail and said, "You're my guest. Isn't it normal for the host to invite guests to his home for a chat?" Then, all right. Xiaohua thought for a moment and nodded. "However, we can't delay for too long. What if..." Speaking of this, Xiaohua smiled. Ao Sheng also wanted to enter the stacked Jade Legacy realm to gain experience. His mission was to accompany him to find Long Yu. If the stacked Jade Legacy realm opened, Ao Sheng would be the first to know. Go go. Ao Sheng was overjoyed. His figure rolled and fled towards a mountain range. Although Ao Sheng was young, he was born with magical power. When he used the water escape technique, he disappeared in the blink of an eye. Xiaohua didn't dare to be negligent. He released his divine sense and also used the water escape technique to chase after him. After flying for a while, Ao Sheng's figure appeared on a towering mountain peak. This guy just stood still in the water and suddenly woke up. He hastily turned his head and said regretfully, "Damn it, I forgot. Xiaohua is a human. His water escape technique isn't very useful here. I'm flying so fast, I'm afraid he won't be able to catch up." While speaking, Ao Sheng turned around and was about to fly away again. He saw water light flickering 1,000 feet away. Xiaohua's figure appeared in the light. "Ah, Xiaohua, you're really powerful. On this dragon island, there hasn't been any other dragon that can catch up with me." Ao Sheng jumped up happily. It seemed like he saw something very fun. Xiaohua smiled and said, "It's hard to say about this Xiao's other magical powers. However, this escape technique is better than the previous one." "Better than the previous one? Other than the water escape technique, what else can you do?" Ao Sheng's eyes lit up and asked hastily. "Metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. This Xiao knows all the escape techniques of the 5 elements. This Xiao is proficient in all of them." Xiaohua replied casually. Ao Sheng laughed loudly. "Haha, I thought I was the only one who knew how to brag. I didn't expect Spiritual Master Xiao to also know how to brag." Where? Xiaohua pretended to be surprised. He looked up and said, "Why do I only see the bragging of you? Ha ha ha. Ao Xing laughed loudly. He held his stomach and rolled in the water. After half a cup of tea's time he finally stopped. You humans are still the most interesting. Ao Xing straightened his body and waved his claws. Come, follow me to the palace. I'm tired of staying on Dragon Island. Not many dragons will talk to me like this. Nonsense. Xiao Hua flew behind Ao Xing and replied without any trace of politeness. You're a junior elder. You're destined to be an elder in the future. Who would dare to joke with you? Even if some of them were joking, I'm afraid they have other intentions. Other intentions? Ao Xing blinked his eyes. It seemed like he understood, but it also seemed like he didn't understand. However, looking at Ao Xing's half-understanding expression, and then recalling the scene of him playing at the edge of the Dragon Island, Xiao Hua didn't know what to feel. Forget it, I won't think too much about it. Ao Xing twisted his dragon body and said, Anyway, I'm still young now. Chapter 4004. Ha ha ha. Xiao Hua recalled what Ao Xing said in the Dragon Palace and couldn't help but laugh out loud. He already understood why the Dragon Palace placed so many little female dragons around Ao Xing. It must be because Ao Xing's bloodline was pure. The Dragon Island wanted more dragons to inherit Ao Xing's bloodline. But they were really too impatient. They didn't wait for Ao Xing to grow up and arranged so many little female dragons, making Ao Xing feel sick, disgusted and rebellious. Damn it, this won't affect Ao Xing's sexual orientation, right? Xiao Hua secretly thought without malice. These old things can't be so stupid, right? But in just a moment Xiao Hua understood. This Ao Xing's bloodline was too important. All the 9 clans of the Dragon Island wanted to benefit from it. The elders clearly knew that it was too early to give little female dragons to Ao Xing, but they couldn't resist the temptation of time. Who knew when Ao Xing would have a good impression of a little female dragon? If they didn't make a move now, when would they? Quick, quick, quick. Ao Xing urged. Xiao Hua, quickly tell me the story of your disciple. Looking at this Ao Xing who had the same temperament as a human teenager, or even a 7 or 8-year-old child, Xiao Hua's heart was moved. He smiled and said, No problem. But before this old man speaks, you should at least have some spiritual fruits and spiritual wine to moisten your mouth, right? Of course, of course. Ao Xing was overjoyed. He flew to the top of the palace and shouted, Quickly bring the Kunlun fruit and Mingtong liquid that the immortal palace sent last time. Yes. A seemingly delicate but actually very deafening voice came. It was obviously the answer of one of the little female dragons. At this time Xiao Hua was already standing on top of the palace. He looked around with interest. This palace was also very big, but it was empty inside. There was no jade table, no tables and chairs. There were only some colorful pearls and gems. There were even some inexplicable luminous objects in the corner of the palace. It was essentially no different from the room of a human child. Not long after, 2 little female dragons had already brought up spiritual fruits and spiritual wine. One of the little female dragons glanced at Xiao Hua with disdain. Xiao Hua didn't pay any attention to that little female dragon. He kicked away a pile of fist-sized pearls on the ground, then raised his hand to take out a jade table and a praying mat from the space and placed them on the ground. He pointed at the jade table and said, Put them here. The little female dragon looked at the spirit fruits and spirit wine with some reluctance, then looked up at Ao Xing who was circling around the palace and put them down helplessly. As for the other little female dragon, just as she flew to Ao Xing once again waved his hand impatiently and said, Give them to Taoist Xiao. Yes. The little female dragon had no choice but to place the treasures of the immortal palace in front of Xiao Hua. After the 2 little female dragons left, Xiao Hua giggled and said, Ao Xing, these 2 little girls look pretty good. Not bad? Ao Xing stopped spinning and flew in front of Xiao Hua with a whoosh. You don't know how to play, you don't know how to tell stories. What's so good about it? That's true. Xiao Hua chuckled, picked up a Kunlun fruit and took a bite. He blinked his eyes and praised, This fruit is not bad, not bad. And it is indeed not bad. Ao Xing grabbed with his dragon claw wanting to pick up a Kunlun fruit. But just as Ao Xing raised his hand, Xiao Hua waved his hand and all the spirit fruits and spirit wine disappeared. Ao Xing was slightly taken aback. He looked at Xiao Hua again and said with a smile, These are all things that you gave to this Xiao. If you want to use them, let those cute little girls take them again. This Xiao is not willing to use these spirit fruits and spirit wine. I still want to leave them for my disciples. When Ao Xing heard the first half of Xiaohua's words, he was already angry and shouted, "What are you talking about? These are originally mine. Hurry up and take them out." But when he heard the second half of Xiaohua's words, his expression was slightly startled. He could not say the following ruthless words. He smacked his lips and said, "All right, since they are for your disciples, then I will not snatch them from you. There are not many Kunlun fruit and Ming Tong liquid in this immortal palace. These were all given to me by the elders when they were happy. Forget it, your disciples are lucky." As he spoke, Ao Xing ordered the little female dragon to bring up a lot of spirit fruits and spirit wine. Looking at Xiaohua eating the spirit fruits, Ao Xing urged, "Can you tell the story now?" Xiaohua drank a mouthful of spirit wine and said, "Ao Xing, remember, this old man is not telling you a story. It is something that really happened in this world. I am very envious of Yuan Ya. His experience is just a story in my eyes." Ao Xing was very envious. "I don't know when I will be able to live such a wonderful life like him. Compared to Chang Yuan and Yu Zhongquan, Yuan Ya is nothing." Xiaohua said and told Huang Yi's story. Huang Yi and Yu Zhongquan's story was originally Xiaohua's personal experience. There was no need to embellish anything. Ao Xing was already intoxicated by the story. When Xiaohua finished, Ao Xing held the half-eaten spirit fruit in his hand and stared blankly at a place in the palace. After half a cup of tea's time, he came back to his senses and sighed, "Ai, there is actually such a fate in this world? Is there really such an infatuated woman in this world? Even if I don't see her, I am drunk just by listening to her story." After saying that, Ao Xing raised his cup and said, "Come, Xiaohua, cheers to the extraordinary woman of the human race in this world." "Cheers." Xiaohua smiled and raised his cup. After Ao Xing finished drinking, Xiaohua said again, "Actually, you don't have to sigh. Is there such an extraordinary woman in your dragon race?" "Is that so? Why don't I know about it?" Ao Xing's eyes lit up when he heard that. He put his head on Xiaohua's jade table and shouted, "Tell me, tell me." Seeing Ao Xing like this, Xiaohua slowly said, "This old man has a disciple? Ah? Why, is it your disciple again? Xiaohua, how many disciples do you have?" Ao Xing was surprised. "You actually accepted a dragon as your disciple?" Xiaohua curled the corner of his mouth and said with a smile, "With this old man's cultivation, what is a few more disciples? However, you can rest assured that this old man did not accept a dragon as a disciple." Tell me. Ao Xing, who wanted to hear the story, urged again. "This old man has a disciple called Lu Yi." Xiaohua opened his mouth. However, just as he said a few words, he suddenly thought of something and asked, "Oh right, before I tell this story, this old man wants to ask. Previously, the fourth elder said 2 rivers and 4 seas, but the first elder said 3 rivers and 4 seas. Is the missing river in the middle the Heavenly Abode River?" "Yes." Ao Xing nodded. "The Heavenly Abode River is a branch of the Hui race. Oh, this is a secret of my dragon race. It's better if you don't know." "Oh, then it's troublesome." Xiaohua patted his forehead and pretended to be regretful. "This woman of the dragon race is probably from the Hui race. It's fine if you don't say it." "You." Ao Xing was a bit speechless. He swam around the hall for a moment, then raised his dragon claw and grabbed a purple crystal ball in his hand. He gritted his teeth and said, "Forget it, just tell me. I'm just listening to a story." "Is it really okay?" Xiaohua looked cautious. "It won't cause you any trouble?" What trouble can there be? The Hui race did a lot of tricks in the selection this time. If they didn't have the support of other dragons, how could they do it? Since the first elder turned a blind eye to it, then the matter of the Heavenly Abode River is nothing. Ao Xing snorted. "Besides, this old man is here to listen to a story. Who can do anything to me?" "This old man?" Xiaohua smiled and looked at Ao Xing, who was pretending to be an adult. He asked, "Oh right, Ao Xing, how old are you?" Ao Xing smiled. "Xiaohua, don't you know? The age of the dragon race is a secret. You can't ask casually." Xiaohua looked defeated, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. This old man only knows that the age of a woman is a secret. I've never heard that the age of a dragon race is also a secret. It's a secret. Quick, tell me the story of the Heavenly Abode River dragon race. Ao Xing urged. Xiaohua knew that he couldn't hide the fact that he offended the North Sea Dragon Palace from the Dragon Island. In the face of a strong helper like Ao Xing, how could he not know how to make use of it? He told Ao Xing about Lu Yi and Xiao Yun, then told him about his grudge with the North Sea Dragon Palace. He didn't even hide anything about Jiang Tian, Jiang Xia, and Jiang Hai. Ao Xing wasn't a fool. At first he was happy to hear it, but in the end he understood something. He looked at Xiaohua with a strange expression. After Xiaohua finished, he raised his wine cup and said with a smile, "Don't look at me. I was dragged into this as well. Who asked Lu Yi to be my disciple? There's a saying in the human race, a teacher for a day is a father for life. Lu Yi is my boy, how can I not worry about him? What about your own boy?" Ao Xing immediately asked. "Don't tell me you don't have a dual cultivation partner. Little fart boy also knows about dual cultivation partners?" Xiaohua scolded with a smile. However, just as he finished speaking, the surrounding seawater immediately solidified. A murderous aura was emitted from Ao Sheng's body. Oh no! Xiaohua smiled bitterly. Ever since he met Ao Sheng, he always treated him as a child of the human race. After telling him a few stories, he didn't have any scruples when talking. Xiaohua's words sounded very intimate to him, but it didn't sound like that in Ao Sheng's ears. "Xiaohua," Ao Sheng said coldly, "you have to know your place. You're just a human cultivator. What qualifications do you have to talk to me like that on this dragon island? Don't think that you're a dragon just because you have a dragon vein. A human can never be a dragon. I can invite you to tell me stories, I can joke with you, but that doesn't mean you have the qualifications to talk to me like that. In this dragon island, other than the elders, there's never been a dragon who dares to talk to me like that." Ao Sheng's words were a bit fragmented, and even sounded very awkward. However, that somewhat embarrassed and angry expression was real. Chapter 4005. Humph, who told you that a dragon vein isn't a dragon? Xiaohua sneered. Haven't you heard of the phrase, how can we turn into a dragon when we encounter a storm? Although this Xiao's dragon vein hasn't formed yet, once it enters the dragon cleansing pool, it will become a five-clawed true dragon. Can't this old man as a five-clawed true dragon scold you? This five-clawed true dragon is just this old man's dragon vein. If this old man's dragon vein can scold you, why can't this old man scold you? Besides, when did this old man scold you? This old man's words are just a kind of doting words to a human child. It's fine if your ears can't hear it, but you actually dare to criticize this old man? However, speaking of which, is it normal for dragons to speak to you like this? Do all the little female dragons spoil you and let you have your way? This. Ao Sheng was a little tongue-tied, a trace of panic appeared in his eyes, as if Xiaohua had hit the nail on the head. Xiaohua originally wanted to talk to Ao Sheng about the relationship between mother and son, but looking at the cold and cheerless palace, Xiaohua held back, afraid that he would really expose Ao Sheng's reverse scale. Forget it. Ao Sheng's eyes flashed with an even more complicated expression. The draconic aura around him flashed, and the killing intent from before was swept away. He said indifferently, even if you have the qualifications to say these words in the future, you don't have it now. Xiaohua looked at this seemingly childish and happy little dragon, but there was some bitterness in his heart that others didn't know about. He raised his cup and said, drink today, don't let the golden goblet face the moon empty. Drink today, don't let the golden goblet face the moon empty. Ao Sheng sighed and raised his cup. Good poem. Sometimes I really envy you humans. Although you don't live for long, you enjoy so many things. Family, love, life, even these poems are excellent. I really don't know how your human brain works. Heavenly Tao Grand Duke. Each race has its own benefits. We human cultivators envy the dragon race's lifespan and the strength of their dragon bodies. Xiaohua said with a smile. Furthermore, you dragons are born with innate divine abilities, so you don't need any cultivation at all. But what about us humans? Tens of thousands of years of bitter training? Can't even compare to a single tail swing from you. But, they have warmth, they have kinship, these are all things that I envy. Ao Sheng continued to sigh, I really want to see those disciples of yours, I want to see their happiness. Unfortunately, I can't leave the Dragon Island yet. Xiaohua pondered for a moment and understood that Ao Sheng's temper was not a casual thing. He must have sensed something and used it to stop him from continuing. However, when he heard Ao Sheng's words, he couldn't help but laugh. What's so difficult about that? If you see them, this old man will call them out at any time. Ao Sheng was stunned and asked curiously, You brought them to Dragon Island? Yeah, why can't I? Xiaohua replied naturally. How did you bring them here? Ao Sheng was even more curious. The dragon formation on Dragon Island prevents all humans, demons and dragons from entering without dragon travel. Even if you put them into the Chengkuan bracelet, it won't work. Xiao Hua blinked his eyes and took out the Kunlun mirror. He smiled and said, "How about this? Kunlun mirror? You actually have the Kunlun mirror?" Ao Sheng couldn't believe his eyes. He looked at it again and again before saying, "With this ancient artifact, you should be able to bring them in." Xiao Hua looked around and said, "Your main hall is filled with seawater. This old man's disciples might not be able to adapt." Well said. Ao Sheng opened his mouth and a blue water-repelling pearl fell into the seawater. The moment the pearl touched the seawater, the crystal-like seawater immediately rolled back. Ao Sheng raised his dragon claw and pointed. The water-repelling pearl flew to the top of the hall. The hall overflowed with brilliance and all the seawater in the hall was forced out. Even the ground was incomparably dry. Then Xiao Hua let Chang Yuan, Yu Zhongquan, Yuanya, Lu Yi and Wang Bianfei out. After the 5 of them greeted Xiao Hua, they also greeted Ao Sheng. Xiao Hua waited for everyone to greet him and said a few words. Then Xiao Hua sent Yu Zhongquan, Chang Yuan and Yuanya into the space. Only Lu Yi and Wang Bianfei were left behind. He directly sat on the praying mat and closed his eyes to meditate. As expected by Xiao Hua, in just half a cup of tea's time, Lu Yi and Ao Sheng had their arms around each other's shoulders. Wang Bianfei was at the side and said something with a smile. From time to time Wang Bianfei would write some poems and draw some pictures. Ao Sheng was very envious. "Damn it, you still say you're not a child." Xiao Hua glanced at the 3 of them. He was extremely hostile towards Ao Sheng in his heart. "This old man won't play with you anymore. Let this old man's disciples deal with you. Let's see who's the opponent." After the 3 of them had been fooling around for half a day, Ao Sheng himself took the initiative to walk over and said with a smile, "Spiritual master, take Xiao Yun out. After all, Xiao Yun is Brother Lu's sister. As her brother, I should also do my best." Looking at Lu Yi who was beside Ao Sheng, his eyes were also filled with concern. Xiao Hua did not tell Lu Yi about Xiao Yun's matter. He was afraid that it would cause Ao Sheng's disgust. Now that Ao Sheng brought it up, he was naturally willing. "All right." Xiao Hua nodded. He shook the Kunlun mirror again and took out Xiao Yun's. "See." Ao Sheng took a glance and sucked in a breath of cold air. He looked at Lu Yi with some sorrow and said, "Brother Lu, this North Sea Dragon Palace is really vicious. This seal, other than my dragon race or even the Dragon Palace of the 4 Seas and Dragon Island, no other dragon race can undo it. Fortunately, Spiritual Master Xiao did not try. Otherwise there would be big trouble." "What?" Lu Yi asked first. Ao Sheng raised his hand and pointed at Xiao Yun and said, "Xiao Yun's seal was set up by my dragon race's heavenly dragon language technique. It cannot be undone without the heavenly dragon language technique. And this heavenly dragon language technique can only be understood by my Dragon Island and the Dragon Palace of the 4 Seas. Don't you think this is big trouble? Moreover, this seal is very vicious. If Spiritual Master is unable to undo it, not only will he suffer a backlash, Xiao Yun will also be injured." "In that case," Lu Yi's eyes rolled around, "I have to trouble Brother Long with this matter?" No. Ao Sheng hurriedly waved his hand and said, "Although I have some divine abilities, I have not cultivated the heavenly dragon language technique. I can't undo this seal." "Then what should we do?" Lu Yi asked anxiously. Ao Sheng had a rare look of difficulty on his face as he said in a low voice, "The special thing is that Xiao Yun is the little princess of the heavenly abode river, which means that she is the princess of the Ho tribe. No one on Dragon Island will save her. If it was in the past, I might have gone to beg the elders. But now that the Gui race has caused such a big trouble during the training, the elders are also full of anger. I don't dare to find trouble with them." "Heavenly dragon language technique?" Xiao Hua listened for a moment and said, "Ao Sheng, if you have the records of the heavenly dragon language technique, why don't you show it to this old man? Maybe this old man has some ideas?" "Hee, Taoist wishful thinking is really good," Ao Sheng said with a smile, "not to mention that I don't have the heavenly dragon language technique here. Even if I did, if I show it to you now, you won't be able to understand it." At this point, Ao Sheng suddenly remembered something. He looked around and asked in a low voice, "Oh right, don't you have the incomplete dragon jade? Doesn't that thing have the heavenly dragon language technique? You haven't seen it before?" "No." Xiao Hua shook his head and said, "There is only the dragon transformation art inside, nothing else." "And I know." Ao Sheng nodded and said with a smile, "It must be because that dragon jade is incomplete. You can't see the heavenly dragon language technique inside. When you find the last dragon jade, you will be able to see it. Are you sure? Xiaohua asked. Ao Xing tilted his head and said, Of course. I know that several heavenly dragon language techniques on Dragon Island were obtained from the dragon jade. Among them, I won't say the rest. Ao Xing looked at Xiao Yun a few times. Xiaohua nodded his head slightly and kept Xiao Yun's dragon body into the space. He looked at Lu Yi and said, Disciple, you don't have to worry. Master is going to enter the Stacking Jade Legacy realm to train. My goal is to find this dragon jade. After I find it, Master can help Xiao Yun remove the restriction. Of course, even if Master is unable to find the dragon jade, I will still find other things to ask the elders of Dragon Island to help. Don't worry, Brother Lu. At this moment, Ao Xing shrunk his dragon body to an extremely small size. However, he is still much bigger than Lu Yi. He hooked Lu Yi's shoulder with his dragon claw and said, I will also go to the Stacking Jade Legacy realm with your master. At that time, I will find a few things that the elders like and let your master bring them back. And then many thanks, Brother Long. Lu Yi smiled slightly and said very sincerely. Tisuke, we are brothers, who are we? Ao Xing said with a mischievous smile. However, you have to tell me how to play this dice. You also have to tell me how to tell if a woman is a virgin from her buttocks. I still don't know if I can see inside this palace. Hearing Ao Xing's words, Lu Yi's face turned slightly red. He stole a glance at Xiaohua. Xiaohua was already meditating with his head lowered, as if he didn't hear anything. Just like this, they stayed in Ao Sheng's palace for more than 3 months. Lu Yi and Wang Bianfei accompanied Ao Sheng to play. That Lu Yi has experienced a lot and knows a lot. He and Ao Sheng are birds of a feather. Especially since Lu Yi can read people's hearts, he can naturally perceive Ao Sheng's likes and dislikes. In the end, Ao Sheng couldn't leave Lu Yi and pestered Lu Yi to play. Wang Bianfei's talent is outstanding. She acted as a buffer between the two of them so as to not let the two of them become unfamiliar with each other. When a message came from outside the main hall, the originally empty main hall, not even a single pearl was left. It was all given to Lu Yi and Wang Bianfei by Ao Sheng. Seeing the message appear, Xiaohua and Ao Sheng both knew what it was. Xiaohua put Lu Yi and Wang Bianfei into the space, while Ao Sheng reluctantly opened the main hall's restriction. Compared to the experience in the Stacking Jade Legacy realm, he still likes to play with 2 humans with similar temperaments. Seeing Ao Sheng put away the dragon scale, Xiaohua probed, What? Did the Stacking Jade Legacy realm open? You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.